Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to Know Your Gear QA Live podcast number 211. Another week's gone by. We're about to start another week end. And I see a bunch of you already joined. Thank you so much. I was running errands today, and usually I like to post the show a couple hours before, let you guys have access to the chat part, but I just couldn't. I didn't have that. I didn't have the time to do that. So thank you so much for everyone who's already jumped on it very quickly and got here very quickly. So thank you so much for that. All right. As always, if you're new to the show and you want to direct your question or comment to me to start a subject, please put the question mark first. It's just so I know you're talking to me. If you're talking to each other, just don't do that. And if you're watching the rebroadcast, I timestamp all of the things we're going to talk about so that you can go right to them. You don't have to listen to this whole thing if you don't want to. Unless, of course, you're listening to the podcast. And, of course, I appreciate you guys so much as that seems to be growing even faster. And I'm still happy to see that every week over week. And as we always do in tradition on the show, I always try to grab the first comments and questions at the beginning of the chat before the show starts to see if I can answer or talk about any of those subjects. And let's get into that. Let's get into that real quick. First, we have Edgar. Edgar says, "Hey, Phil, would it be worth it to change the neck on my new Fender player for another Fender neck with rosewood fretboard?" Okay, so in other words, what they have is they have a Made in Mexico Players Stratocaster with a maple fretboard on their neck. They want a rosewood one, and they want to know if it's worth replacing it. It says, "I got the guitar for $575 and the neck for $465. Got the guitar on sale for $575. The neck is $465. Is it $465 now? Hold on, I gotta have, I'm getting a little old. The heart's a little weak. Is it $465 now for a Fender aftermarket neck? Weren't they $250? I gotta look this up, buddy. I'm sorry. Okay, we gotta look at this. Fender, you may be talking about putting a US neck on the Player's Strat. Okay, Fender, replacement neck. I'm sure some of you guys are commenting, but I'm sorry, I'm looking on the interwebs real quick because I have to know. Otherwise, this will haunt me the whole show. Yes, $249.99. Okay, so if you're looking at a Fender neck that is $465, what you want to do is you want to put a Made in USA neck on that guitar. Yeah, do that. Here's what I would do. If I was in your position, I would definitely do that. Why not? I mean, I'm not saying there's a big difference between those two necks or that you're even going to get some kind of really huge tangible value out of that. But, it's cool. It's an American-made neck. There's some prestige to that. Little Made in USA on the front. Actually, no, they don't even say Made in USA anymore. See? I don't even know what I'm talking about. They say Corona, California. Fender no longer puts Made in USA on the necks on their Made in USA guitars. They only put Corona, California. Not Made in Corona, California, just Corona, California. And there's a bunch of reasons for that. If you guys don't know, California passed some really crazy being intensely different laws. Notice how I politically shifted on that, so I didn't go down that road. Anyways, California put some really stringent laws on the books that basically makes it really tough for a company to say Made in USA. So they're going to use terminology like assembled in the USA if it's not 100% Made in USA. Now, my understanding, again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not versed in California law. Just what I read in articles that are relevant to our industry is that they've kind of pulled back the reins on those laws. And so therefore it's not so tight as it was originally. They backed off. But even being so, I think companies like Fender just said, screw this. We're not going to just keep messing with it. So I think they decided to just put Corona, California. So that makes it legally okay for them to do that. I say that so there's the neck is Made in the USA. Okay, don't start any rumors like they're really made in Mexico necks or Korea and they shipped them to the US. I've been to the factory so many times. They were making the necks there. They're still making the necks there. But back to Edgar's issue. Edgar, this is what I would do. I would buy, if you're going to buy the $465, the USA neck, which I thought were $450, but I understand inflation. Keep the box, stick the Made in Mexico one in there. I would choose a time frame. In other words, like 6 months, a year, 2 months, whatever you feel comfortable with, where you're like, I love this guitar. I love this new neck. This is the guitar for me. And then maybe at that time I'd sell off the Made in Mexico neck. Otherwise, I'd keep that neck. And then that way, if you ever sell off the guitar, put the Made in Mexico neck back on it. And then, then you have American neck to put on another guitar. That's what I would do. So yeah, so to answer your question, would I do that? I don't know if I would do that, but that's how I would do it if I were to do it. So, all right, guys, guitar covers. Says, hey, Phil, what's my opinion? He wants to know what my opinion is on the Orange Crush 120, the 120 watt Crush solid state amp. Is it really one of the best solid state amps out there? Yeah, never occurred to me to do a 5 of the best solid state amps video. I do a lot of 5 things videos, but maybe that would be a good video. If I was going to do like my favorite top 10 and rate them, maybe I might do that video now. Sometimes these shows actually create an idea for a video. I think it'd be fun, right? What's my top favorite or the best, in my opinion, best 10 best solid state amps on the market, not Class D, right? Just solid state amps. Again, to kind of demonstrate that, a Mustang amp from Fender would be like a Class D amp, and which is digital type amplifier, where the Katana is a solid state amp. I would put the Crush, the CR120 in that top 10 list for me personally. I would do that. So yeah, to answer your question, so your answer was, what's my opinion on it? I would put it in my top 10 solid state amp lists that are current in the market now. You know what I mean? And then I like other ones, just to throw some shout outs, what I would throw out there. Other ones I think, obviously, like the Jazz Chorus from Roland Jazz Chorus is a classic, great solid state amp. I love that amp too. I've said this before. I love this quote. I'm quoting myself, but I love this quote that I said one time on a show. I said, look, I like good amplifiers. I like good quality amplifiers. I like good amps. And just so happens to be, most of those amps happen to be tube. But nothing in my brain says an amp has to be tube. Like, I don't have like only tube amps are good, only solid state amp are good, only Class D amps are good, or vice versa. I have this. I just like good amps, and then ironically, when I look at all the amps I have, the majority of them are tube. But every once in a while, there's a solid state or a digital amp that just like, I like this. It does its thing really, really well, and that's how that goes. So, like I said, I don't have a I've never. I'll say never. I got 210 shows somewhere, or 200 actually. I think 30 if you're on the podcast itself, but on iTunes. But anyways, I don't really like I said, I don't really lean towards one technology over the others. As if this is tube, it's good, is what I'm trying to say. I don't blankly just say because a technology is being used in the amp, it's good. There's a fair share of crappy everything out there and good everything. So next question. This is all before the show started question, so you guys know what I'm hitting right now. I'm hitting Alan Sam's Music. Alan Sam's, thank you so much, man. He's a patron and he's a loyal viewer. Thank you so much. He says, hey, Phil, have you... he's not asking me. He's telling me. He says, Phil, I have the new SBMM CT50S HSS. So the Sterling by Music Man. So he has a Sterling by Music Man. I feel like I'm getting a text from my daughter. LFLOLL, like a lot of letters there. But anyways, Sterling by Music Man, CT50 HSS. Great guitar, but the tremolo is really tight even after I adjust the springs. Is it okay to remove one of the springs? Absolutely. Well, first of all, I have that guitar. I have that review coming. I don't want to jump ahead. Do I have the question? There's a question about my next review. So I'll tie it into that question, okay? So I won't jump on that, Alan. Let me just address your particular question. When it comes to tremolo springs and bridges, there are no rules that I've found that are you have to do, okay? So can you use 2 springs? Yeah, you can use 3, you can use 5, you can use 4. You can use whatever you like. But one thing I always remind people is that not all springs are created equal, and that's one of the things that you have to remember. Sure, if you go from 3 to 2, will that work? Given that you tighten the claw down so you get enough tension to keep the bridge either against the body or equalized. Sure, but don't forget that the type of material the spring's made out of does change the way that feels, right? And so a lot of manufacturers, of course, remember, they focus on what we see and not what we don't. So the paint job is shiny and the tuning keys are fancy and the nut is cut right. I mean, they're not getting dumb, man. Manufacturers, if a manufacturer had half a brain, they would watch all these YouTube videos out there where all these nerds are just picking apart all these guitars and go, okay, this is what they're looking at, so this is what we'll focus on, and then it will pass, right? It'll pass grade because we're not looking at everything. So one of the things I would definitely consider is that not only can you remove a spring, very easy, very cheap, do that. But also, if it still don't get the desired result, don't be afraid to purchase some new springs. I tend to gravitate towards the springs you get on FU Tone. Those are good springs. Look at those. Or the Fender springs that I like that are black. I don't know what they're made of. They're painted black. But they're great. I use them on all kinds of guitars. I don't know what it is. Fender just has, I like those way those feel. And I never would have kind of figured that out. But then I say crazy a lot. I feel bad. Odd, interesting customer. So I'll say crazy because I don't think he'll mind. I have a crazy customer, I should say, not had. But anyways, he's a great guy, but he's got some weird idiosyncrasies about his theories about things that used to be the way they are and the way they are now. And one of the things he was telling me was they don't make springs the same way they used to. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. This is years ago. This might be 15 years ago. And he's like, you don't understand, Phil, the springs are different. They've changed like Soylent Green is people. It's like the springs are different, Phil. And that's why it feels different. And then one day, I don't know what possessed me to do this. I pulled out some springs, 3 springs out of a late 80s era Kramer guitar and stuck them in a new guitar that was having the problem that Alan's talking about, where it was really stiff. And I just put them in. Remember, I didn't change the claw. I didn't change the distance. I didn't change anything. And all of a sudden, the bridges felt great. And I was like, oh, well, maybe because they're broken in. That changes things, right? A little broken in the feel. But that could be the part of it. But also, I think he has a little to it. They're just different materials, different feeling to the stretch of it. I feel like we've talked a long time about springs, but I think we get to the point. So the point is, it's experiment. There's a couple things like springs I like to tell you guys over and over again. Such a cheap thing that can give you such a great experience of what is $20 in the grand scheme of having a weekend of playing with your guitar and learning more about it, enjoying it. So, Alan, I would do that. Not only mess with the springs and take them in and out, but also look online and maybe invest in some other springs. I have drawers full of them downstairs, and I am never shocked to this day when a customer is, saying something to me and I just start popping out some springs and hand it back to them. And they're like, this is it. And I go, yeah. Sometimes you just got to mess with the different tensions. Next question comes from Dale. Dale says, hey, Phil, I'm a couple of my guitars so a couple of his guitars on the back of the neck has a sticker that shows recycle. Okay, on the neck. Why? He wants to know why. He says he loves the channel, by the way. Why? I don't know. So first, Dale, let me clear this up. Obviously, I'm not looking at what you're looking at. And I don't remember seeing any recycle stickers on my guitars. However, there are stickers or markings or imprints or logos that sometimes are confused with recycling. So let's start there. So I just want to make sure we're all clear. The recycling logo is the circle of arrows in a triangle type shape. And then usually it's used on plastics to tell them, like, there's different numbers. I'm very layman's on this. I have enough to talk about this much, but a lot of times the stickers you're talking about aren't recycle stickers. They're like don't throw away stickers. So sometimes you have like a picture of a trash can receptacle and a big X and it says don't. And that sticker I think is for Europe. It's a requirement for goods being shipped into Europe. And it's basically like don't throw that in the trash is what that's saying. It's not recycle. It's just like don't throw in the trash. So there are different ones. And then there's like the CE code. So there are different stickers and or actually like silk screened onto guitars now. We see it all the time, amps, guitars, and it all has to do with certain laws. And of course, just like in California, where it's like the 5th biggest economy in the world, California will mandate some laws, and then literally every manufacturer will be like, look, 2 out of every 10 things sold is going to California, so just make it all, screw it. Like they just do it for every product. That's why we see a lot of stuff like this causes cancer stuff is on everything now, but it's really for California. It's for California requires that, but they put it on everything for every state. Here, at least in the States, I don't know how it works overseas, but I see it all the time. A lot of those decals and stickers are for the EU and their requirements, and usually are not about recycling, about throwing away. But what's good is you can Google it. You can Google it, but Google, if you really want to know what is on your guitar, besides just asking me and when I'm kind of just shooting at you, don't Google recycle logos. Google the name of your logo. So if you see, whatever you see, type that, like 3 arrows in a triangle or trash can with a X or CE, and then Google it and it'll tell you why it's there. But most of that stuff's there for the EU. So Guitar Science, and try to stay on subjects, when you guys are talking about stuff I'm talking about. Guitar Science said Prop 95, everything in California gives you cancer. Exactly. Prop 95 is the tag you see on everything from in our everything, but in our world, guitar cases, guitars, pedals. Just look. Oh yeah, perfect example. Look, this is I have a Boss. No, Boss. I have a Behringer pedal here. And yes, I'm working on... I got my 6 Behringer pedals. Let me not segue too much. Let me stay on topic. For those that you can see, this is what I'm talking about. It has those things. CE is that logo I told you there. That's what I think he thinks is the recycle logo. I don't think that's a recycle logo. And then the no throw away, the trash thing. These are logos, but I don't think they're actually recycle logos. But I could be mistaken. But that's why they're there, because they're on everything. It's just the law. So you guys know, you remember a few months ago I mentioned that Sweetwater had Behringer pedals for literally $20. I bought 6, and I think my bill came to $106 pedals. I have all 6 pedals now, and so I've started the preparations for the board. That will be a video you'll see where I will check out all 6 Behringer pedals, and then we'll figure out from there what to... I have no idea what I'm going to think. I have no idea. I haven't tried any of them yet. I don't want to do I don't want to try them until I have the camera rolling. I'd like to capture the reaction if I'm truly shocked or if I'm like, yeah, you never know. Okay, so next I have just a couple more of the pre-show questions to do. As I drink water, let me tell you, this is the lasered cup we talked about last week. He reached out to me, by the way, this week, and I put a link down below to his website. He said you can buy these lasered Know Your Gear cups from him, and the coasters and stuff too. So I put a link. We talked about that last week and all that stuff. So he reached out and said, yeah, he's willing. He's doing it. I think he does all kinds of cool laser stuff. I was checking out his website. So there you go. It's a link down below if that's something you're interested. I didn't see a price tag for him. I'm sorry. I apologize. All I can say is the one he made me is really nice. Actually, maybe 2, but you know what I mean? The ones he made me are nice. So if you get one as nice as that, I think you'll be happy. Because like I said, it's a really badass cup. Okay. Let's get to Valdis. Okay. Valdis says, man, it's 11 p.m. in the UK. You should start 2 hours earlier. Okay. So I did this once before in the last, couple months. I'll do it again next week. Next week, we will do a bonus podcast on Wednesday. So what will happen is that one will be at, let's see. He said 2 hours earlier. 9 p.m. still kind of late for some. Let's do 8 p.m. So 8 p.m. UK time. So that would be 1 p.m. my time. So today's show started at 3 p.m. my time. Next Wednesday, there will be a bonus podcast at 1 p.m. What I call this is the European friendly time zone podcast. And we'll still have a Friday show. You're not going to miss out. I'll just do a bonus one next week. We'll do a show on Wednesday. So be prepared and if you forget, I'll send it out a couple hours early. You guys will know. We'll do a bonus podcast next week for our friends overseas, because yes, I like doing that. I like making an extra one or changing the time zone every once in a while, but I don't think there'll be a problem with doing 2 next week. So yeah, sorry. As I'm getting sidetracked talking about this, Nathan's like, your wife actually let you spend money on Behringer products. Man, she has changed. She has never stopped me from it. I told you, I just know that she would. No, she knows what I'm up to. It's funny. I would say she has that face of disappointment when I do stuff like that. But no, she knows. Look, it's not, like I said, it's not because I'm like, look, and there's even more stickers on this thing. There's an E with circles. She knows what I'm up to, which is, I just don't want to blindly say things about products that I don't know anything about. So I'm trying out these Behringer. I don't know why I keep calling Boss. I'm trying out these Behringer pedals because, that's the whole point of the channel. Know Your Gear is not like, read the specs or know all the information or memorize all these facts and figures. It's try things and see how it works and try to get a full understanding of what it is you like and don't like. And so I will try these Behringer pedals instead of just saying something about them. Let's try them. So maybe, like I said, I'll give you my insight, whatever that's worth. Then we have, what else do we have? I have a couple more, but I want to. Oh, here's one. So this is an early one, and then we'll jump into some current ones. JB2 says, I walked into a local guitar center today, saw about 10 to 12 guitars on the wall, about four guitars and basses in the used section, 5 employees standing around doing nothing. Was so depressing, just walked out. I understand that feeling. I had that experience this week with at Home Depot. I had to, because everything's crap now. My stove broke. That's only like 4 years old, because stoves only last like 4 years now, apparently. Refrigerators like 2 years. Anyways, so I had to get a new stove. So we went to Home Depot, not for the stove. We were just at Home Depot and we thought we should look at stoves. And it's like, yeah, there's nothing there. It was like 2 stoves and sadness, and we left. So I understand your feeling. What I will tell you is I have actually been paying attention, as you can imagine, lately to stock levels at stores and checking things. And what I can tell you is inventory is increasing. All the guitar centers I've been into have been increasing inventory consistently week after week. So what I mean by that is you can tell, like if they had 20 guitars, now they have 22. If they had, when in the following week they have 26. I mean, there's growth. They're still selling, but there's still growth. So we see inventory increasing, more amps in the stores. So even though it looks thin and nasty, it's growing. I definitely see the supply chains catching up as what I perceive is being the demand decreasing as well. So we're seeing a slowdown in the demand of products and a slight increasing in the amount of products being back in stock. Definitely, for sure, is a thing. All right, so, but yeah, I understand your feeling. We all sound and feel that. It's weird, right? Actually, my latest weird experience at a guitar center that was really kind of weird wasn't on how little guitars they had in the main lobby. You walk in, amps and stuff. There was low inventory for sure. It was Ralph was with me, my buddy Ralph. We went into the acoustic room and it was like empty. I mean, there was maybe, it doesn't even matter how many guitars. It doesn't matter if it was 10 or 50 or 6. Literally, it was like 20%. I was going to say 25, but that's actually rounding up too much. It was 20% of the room had guitars in it. So 80% of the room was just physically empty. That was a creepy experience. That I did not enjoy that. We actually felt so uncomfortable checking out guitars. We just left that room because I, like you, it feels ominous. It feels weird, right? You're just in there going, there's nothing in here. Why is there nothing in here? So yes. Yeah. So yeah, of course. All right. Okay. Let me, hold on. Okay, I want to get this question just because it caught my eye. So it's from Johnny1000RR. It says, can you do Friedman Mini Dirty Shirley? So he's talking about the Friedman Dirty Shirley. So he said do, but I think he means use. Can you use I want to answer this because I have that amp and it's one of my favorite amps. Can you use the Friedman Dirty Shirley Mini as a bedroom amp? Regards from Sweden. Absolutely. That's what I use it for. I use it for the dirty. I like the Dirty Shirley full size or the Twin Sister. I don't want to say much more, but it is. I like it twice as much. I don't know. I don't know the emotional way I rate my number of emotion. I like the full-size Dirty Shirley more than the Mini. I just do. But the Mini is fantastic for getting that sound a little quieter. It doesn't have the bass, the fullness that the full-size head has, but man, sometimes that fullness is a nightmare when you're trying to keep relatively quiet. And I'll do it. I'll literally force an amp to do something it doesn't want to do, which is be quiet. You know what I mean? I'll play quietly instead of playing through my Spark like I should, or some small practice amp that can really just get a great tone, ultra quiet. I'll literally just I'll sit there and literally for like a minute and a half, I'll rock the volume knob until I catch that right spot. Just the right spot where I'm like, okay, now I can play and be quiet enough. And especially for me, so to give you, and just to solidify this with you, Johnny, and why I'm saying this, I have a ritual, right? As a lot of people do. I have a ritual, and it's at some point at night, we decide it's time to go to bed. I don't know how that works. Like, we don't have a set bedtime. Just all of a sudden it's like, I'm tired. You tired? Yeah. And then we just go to bed and we adjourn upstairs is how we do it. And everybody has a habit. I don't know everybody, but most people have a habit to go to bed. My habit is I go upstairs, I get ready for bed, and I have a amp in my bedroom and a chair next to the bed, and I play guitar for about 10 to 20 minutes. My wife has a tablet, and she does stuff on her tablet, right? She's like doing, I don't know, accounting, or I don't know, maybe watches YouTube videos, I'm not sure. But I play quietly while she reads on this tablet, and I can do that as long as I'm not blaring her out. And so the point is, I could come in this room and she wouldn't even really hear me, but I go and I do it in that room because that's where I want to do it, because I'm right next to bed. And then when I'm done, I just turn off the amp and I go to bed. So I play the Dirty Shirley in that room quietly all the time, and it's one of the amps I can actually get away with. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So there you go. I'm like, I know some of the things we talk about. How quiet can you get a nice tube amp? You can get it pretty quiet. Okay. Now we have to go to the next question. The next question is from Mark. Mark says, Phil, what's the best way to get sticky, gunky feeling of a Gibson Les Paul Classic neck off? He means, okay. So I think what he's describing is not like sticky, gummy, like a residue or, like we're thinking. I think he's actually talking about physically the lacquer. Lacquer finishes, nitrocellulose lacquer finishes, especially with, to me, when I get them warm, they get a little tacky is what I like the word. You said sticky, I say tacky. Sticky to me is like, sticky is like, chewed bubble gum is sticky, where, tacky is just a little, it's a little like, I don't know, rough. I don't know, not even rough, just not so sticky. Tacky is less sticky. How about that? So there is a couple things you can do, especially since it tends to happen when your hand gets hot and sweaty, or the neck, the finish gets warm because you're playing back and forth a lot. You can use Meguiar's with anything, a carnauba wax, and you can wax the neck, and that will make it really slick, and that will help a lot. But it's a little tricky thing, man. If you really have trouble with lacquer finishes, I used to. I don't know what happened. Just one day I lucked out. I used to pick up guitars with lacquer finishes, and exactly that feeling. I feel like it was sticking on my arm, on the arm carve. I feel like the neck was sticky. Just everything didn't work for me. And I'd be like, I hate them. And then one day, I don't remember when, I just picked one up and was playing it. It was fine. And ever since then, I've been getting away with it since. So, BC Rich 581 says, Tacky is my middle name. Yes, Tacky, yes. but yeah, to the question, that's what I would try. I would try that. Take some Meguiar's carnauba wax and do that, and then you might see a significant improvement to where you get away with that. Because it will decrease the friction is basically what's happening. The friction, your hand rubbing the neck, is what's making it feel tacky or sticky. So if you make it all slick, you might do that. Jim saying R800 grit sandpaper, problem solved. Yes, you can just sand the neck. And 800 is like one of my faves. I don't know if I would do 800. I'd probably do 4, 6, and 8 is the big ones. 4 is probably what I would do, and then use 8. I tend to use 8 as like a polishing sand, and 400 would really take some material off. Not like wood, but get some of that clear, that nitro off. But you can use 600 if you will too. I experiment with using 6 instead of doing the 4-8 method, but I like 4, a little bit of 4, just a little bit, just to get it rough, and then 8 will polish. The only reason I do it that way is if you start with just 8, which again, nothing wrong with that. 8's such a polishing sandpaper kind of thing. What happens is it gets caught, the paint gets so much in there that it just becomes useless after a couple passes, and then you got to tear off another piece of 8. So you're going to plow through a ton of 8 is what I'm saying. So it's a cost thing. When I'm working on guitars all day, I don't want to go through $300 worth of sandpaper a month. So I might go for the 8. However, that's a big commitment. See what I'm saying? Telling somebody to sand their Gibson, woo. If I love the guitar and that's the only thing that's driving me crazy, I'm going to do it. But I can't advise you to sand your guitar. I can only tell you, like I said, somebody mentioned it, so I'm backing them up. Yep, you can do that. That's on you. It's never going to have the value it once had once you sand it. Even if you only sand it to satin and then you can still buff it back one day, you're taking the chance that it just, you're devaluing your guitar. And I don't know what model you have and I don't know anything. So just, like I said, take everything with caution. If you love it, make it your own. If you don't love it, you're going to kill the resale value. And let's be honest, we don't know we love something. It's when it comes to guitars until, time goes by. Time is what keeps it. Rob Baker said, hey, Rob, he says, Music Nomad polish works pretty well too. Absolutely. The paste polish. Yes, it's the paste. It smells like bubble gum. I love it. It's gray and I love the Music Nomad polish. It smells like bubble gum. The only thing I don't know about Rob, if it happens to him. The only thing I don't like about it is that damn thing spurts everywhere. No matter what I do, it shoots out polish in all directions every time I try to put it on a cloth. But yeah, that works too. You can use that as well. In fact, that's generally what I use. I have both downstairs. I have Meguiar's Carnauba and I have Music Nomad polish. And it just depends, what I grab and why. I have different reasons for liking certain things in certain times. Oh, here's another great answer. Courier 11 seconds said, add another view for Scotch-Brite. Worked. Yes, Scotch-Brite will work as well. Works wonders. Scotch-Brite, the only thing, I know it sounds silly, the things we talk about sometimes on Fridays. Scotch-Brite works fantastic. There's actually something better than Scotch-Brite. You can get them on Amazon or through StewMac and stuff. There's a Scotch-Brite pad that's white. It's a white pad. I forget the name of it. You just know you have the right one. It's white. It's a little less coarse than the Scotch-Brite, and it works really good. It's more of a polishing pad and less of just an actual material, a scoring pad like the Scotch-Brite. But Scotch-Brite works. However, so that's also, but also when you deal with any of the Scotch-Brites and the stuff, it's tough. I used to, if this show was 10 years ago, I'd be recommending all kinds of stuff that I don't recommend now because of the fact that the companies, like the company that makes Scotch-Brite, they've now impregnated everything with some kind of, they always putting crap in everything. So a lot of times I get nervous, like recommending things because they put chemicals in stuff. They put, detergents in there. And I get nervous when everybody's talking about nitrocellulose lacquer, and anytime a company that I'm not keeping up on every minute, you could get it, and I just don't know how those detergents are going to react. I don't know what they're going to do. You know what I mean? It just sucks. So yes, Scotch-Brite works great, but make sure that you read that it doesn't have any detergents or anything in there added to it, because they like to add crap to everything. It used to be so easy. I mean, like I said, it used to be baby wipes. I used to tell people to use baby wipes all the time, and now they put aloe and all kinds of conditioners in the baby wipes, and so your hands are just greasy now. And you can't find them without that stuff. So Jim says green Scotch-Brite is about circa 600 grit. Yeah, I can see that. I don't know the official, so if you have that, if you knew that for officially, that's great. That would be, I would say, yeah. I would say to me, it feels like Scotch-Brite's not even as coarse as 800 grit, but so I could see that 600, 800 grit. Sure, of course. And then Ken Solo says, that's the white 3M pad. That's what I use. They work great. That's exactly it. I use the white 3M pads. They work fantastic. Because I know there's no chemicals on them, and they work great. And remember, my whole thing is, especially when recommending to you guys, but I follow the same rules myself, but I'm more so when I'm giving the advice. I go as light as possible. Because I'm always, once you take material away, you can't put it back. So you definitely don't want to, you know what I mean? I always like to go a little light if I can. It takes a little longer, but you don't have to worry about passing it. Once you pass the line, you can't go back. Okay. And then, yeah, Tampa Blue says do a little at a time. Exactly. Like I said, keep it light, keep it easy. Okay. So, on that note, we'll jump subjects again. If I can, for some reason, they're missing. Why are they missing? I have a screen and it's missing. Found it. All right, let's read some questions. Greg's question or comment is, hey, Phil, any update on the Epiphone Les Paul Muse? Interested in your thoughts. This is the question I thought I saw earlier. Yes, the Muse should be the very next guitar video you see. That's the video I have slotted to be the next review video you see, is the Epiphone Muse. And then earlier when I was talking to Alan Music, had a question when he was talking about the Sterling Ball Music Man CT50. That should be the next guitar video that you see. Now I say should because there is a small possibility that something shows up before those videos are edited, and something I'm excited about personally, and I'm just going to share it with you guys as soon as I get it. So if that shows up, I'm going to do it, but that's just because, again, it's weird. Somebody mentioned also earlier that it was nice seeing me last week on a couple other channels. I was on Ben Coombs' channel. I was on Nez Says channel. They reached out and asked me to come on their channels and do some vids, some talks like this. And they said, a viewer was saying earlier, I apologize if I didn't catch the name, but I caught the comment. Maybe it was a super chat. Maybe that's why it caught my eyes, because they're bright colors. So if it is, we'll get to it, but I'm talking about it now. They said it was nice to see you there, and they said don't burn out. That's exactly what happens. So if you notice there wasn't a whole lot of videos this week in the last 7 days, it's because, you tend to, not in a bad way. I mean, I enjoyed the shows. I enjoy it. But, you get a little you got to keep, part of this is teaching and information and sharing, right? Or like what I call surrogacy. Like, in other words, you can't be here to touch this thing, so I want to show you what I'm experiencing. And it's very fun as a gig. But when you're not in the mood, not because you're in a bad mood, just not feeling it, or you're not excited, I have learned to just back away from the camera. I'm not an actor. I'm not a presenter. I'm not trained. I don't know how to do anything other than just turn on a camera and capture what the hell's going on in the moment. And sometimes it's really, it's a little deflating to make a video, which happened to me the other day, and I'm editing it and I'm just bored to tears watching it, because I can tell that I was bored to tears making it. And it's not anyone's fault. I just, I wasn't in the mood. It's not exciting. Or I wasn't excited about the product. That happens too. You want to be excited. If it's at least negative or positive. If you really I've had products where I've really not enjoyed them, but that is actually exciting because I can show you why I'm not enjoying it, and sometimes you're enjoying it. So there you go. So the Epiphone Muse will be next, is barring anything wacky going on. Either way, it's coming up. It says Mahogany. This is what it says. It was fun to see you on some other YouTubers' channels, and in the past couple of weeks. Hope you're not burning out. And of course, that's what I'm doing. I'm making sure I don't burn out. I have, I'm becoming what they call tenured in this gig, and so I've learned to, read when you're burning out, and don't, because it doesn't do you guys any good. You guys don't want to see me all burned out. It's boring. I'm not here to bore you, I hope. Although, we do talk about some boring guitar nerdy stuff, but I think it's cool. Adam said, he super chapped $1 gazillion, I'm not exaggerating, and he said to help get the Evertune on the channel. Yeah, the Evertune is happening, obviously, because of last week. Was it last week I got the $100? Was that what it was? But I already said it was happening. It's happening. So yes, I am on that process right now as we speak. But I do have a patron who sent out a message to me, and I haven't talked back. But anyways, doesn't matter. I saw what he said, and he had some ideas, but I'm still working on some ideas before I reach out and tell everybody what I'm up to. And that's another thing to this week. Sometimes instead of making content, you're prepping content that's coming. Jeff says, hey, Phil. Yes, you. He means me. He says he's got a new Sharkow. He's got a new Sharkow. He got a new Charvel SoCal model. He says one volume. I think that's what he's saying. One volume all over the place at first. Thought pickups. Okay, so he's saying the volume's all over the place. Right, it's all over the place. He's and he thought it was the pickups. Then he realized he hit the volume up. So in other words, okay, so he's playing the guitar and the volume jumps and then the volume drops and he's like, what the hell's going on? Right? So I'm kind of short out, or is the pickup's wacky? And he's like, no, I'm bumping the volume knob and turning that. That of course makes sense. He says it hurts his hand when he's strumming because he's even hitting it. It hurts his hand. He says, what options besides playing style, obviously changing the entire way he plays, what options does he have? Well, you have the Charvel SoCal. The SoCal should have a pick guard, I'm assuming, off the SoCal model, which means that's what's great about a pick guard. That's one of my favorite things. You're not restricted. You can, it's your investment, your time, your money. Something I would suggest to you if I was working with you and we were like, what can we do to fix this? Maybe cut you a new pick guard and then move the volume knob out of the way. That's an easy thing to do. It's not the end of the world. It's not hard to do. One thing you can do, since that, on that guitar is, sure, you can have a new pick guard made and with a new volume knob. But what I would do is just drill a hole in the existing pick guard and move the damn knob where you want. And if it works, then that's where it goes. And if it doesn't work, drill another hole and move it again. And then the day you go, this is it, then you can take that pick guard down to pretty much any shop that cuts pick guards, which is a lot of repair shops, and just give them the pick guard and go, yeah, make me a pick guard, but that's the hole I want drilled out, not the other ones. And there you go. And that's how you do it. I'm not going to say it's cheap, but it's not a huge investment by any means. Or you can find tons of places online that will cut you a pick guard and then just ask them not to drill a hole. That's exactly what I would recommend. You can do that anywhere. You can go online, find a company that makes pick guards or a person, say, I want a SoCal pick guard. This is the pick guard. Pickup's routed. Just do not drill the hole. And there you go. And maybe buy 2 of them. Again, it depends on what the pick guard costs, but I would imagine, versus smacking your hand and not enjoying the guitar, I would just do that. The investment is going to be worth it, and because your only other option, besides, like you said, change your playing style, not probably going to be likely, or sell the guitar off and move on. Again, something you can do as well. Travis wants to know, he says, I never thought to ask Sweetwater for a deal. Okay, so I had tax knocked off for the price. Thank you. Do you need to be concerned about humidity with a hollow body? Okay, so 2 questions. For first, he just wanted to let me know he didn't occur to him to call Sweetwater and ask for a deal. And yeah, like I said, guys, everyone, not just Sweetwater, but anyone, if you contact them, like I said, phone them or chat, not super chat, that's me, chat them through their interface or email them, always ask for a deal. I always ask for a deal. Like I said, even on Reverb, when people don't take, they don't have an offer button, I will always send. If I'm serious and I want to buy this thing, especially the circumstance, to me, there's a certain situation that happens that's pretty common with me, which is I'll see a guitar or a thing and they're not taking offers and I like it, but I'm never going to buy it at that price. So I might just email them and go, hey man, I love your guitar. Looks great. I really want it. Not trying to lowball you. Not, please don't take offense. But I'm a buyer at this price. And now they have my now they have my contact information. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with asking for a better price. Especially if you really want it. If you really think you're going to buy it. You're not kicking tires, you're not just poking around. What's the worst they're going to say? No, I can't give you a deal. Okay. So now it's like on you. You got to wait until you decide to pull the trigger at a bigger price, or they can give you a lower price and make the deal. Either way. So I'm glad it worked out for you. Like I said, Travis, like I said, all you out there, I appreciate everything you guys do to support this channel and clicking the affiliate links and doing all that stuff. But like I said, please, like I said, save yourself some money. It's your money. You work hard for it. Keep it. It's yours. That's what it comes down to. We're all doing something we love. And the more money we get to keep, the better. It's not, you know what I mean? It's just better. Okay, so the second part of his question is, should he be concerned about humidity with a hollow body? No, not really. Here's why. A hollow body guitar, for the most part, again, there's only very few exceptions, like maybe the PRS Hollow-body core model, the ones that are like, $5,000, where that's a solid top and back carved out. And even then, it's not a big deal, but something to think about. Most hollow bodies are going to be ply. In other words, they're going to be bent tops, is what we call it. So they take wood that's plywood, like you can imagine, multi-layers, sometimes a 3-ply, sometimes 5-ply. Gretsch guitars, like made in Japan Gretsch and vintage Gretsch guitars, will be 3-ply, which is not normal. Normal, it would be like what Epiphones, Gibsons, and other brands use as a 5-ply. That's more common, a little thicker. what you have to understand is those plies of wood in between those sheets is glue. Okay. And not like the old days, old days, animal hide glues, which would crystallize and become brittle. New glues aren't the same. So they're more resilient is what I'm basically saying. So what I'm trying to tell you is what feels like something that's very delicate, like a hollow body, is not very delicate. I mean, it's basically plywood bent and sheets of wood, probably cross-grained in different directions, most likely, and even different types of wood. And then glue, it's not going to dry out. Is basically what I'm trying to tell you. Is it's very not likely to see a ply hollow body guitar crack because of low humidity. My guess is if it was to crack, it would be no more likely than, let's say, a fretboard crack. Sometimes you see fretboard cracks when they dry out, really intensely. And at that point, it was going to crack because it's either the environment is so harsh and dry, or the guitar was not prepped really well. So there you go. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't humidify a hollow body guitar. Unless, of course, it was vintage and old, and it was, like I said, something I'm trying to cater to. And then even then it would be case by case and why you would do it. Tampa Blues says, I enjoy the shows. I enjoy Tampa Blues that you enjoy the show. Why? Because when you say you enjoy the show, it reminds me like, oh, is that why we're doing this? Because sometimes I'm thinking sometimes I'm the only one having fun here. To you, I'm talking to you. To me, I'm talking to this 27-inch screen and a little camera where I'm poking my finger right now. So I'm having fun. Sometimes I wonder, like, if I would, just talking to myself. But I'm not. You guys are here, and obviously Tampa Blues enjoys it, which is enough. It was enough. That's enough for me to know that you enjoy it. Then we have Zero. I think with the next, right? Does it still be 0666? Like the ohm readouts on the John Muir pickups. When I did that, so you commented, when I put the multimeter on the John Muir pickups for that last video, the Mark Lettieri and the John Muir guitar, when all the pickups were ohming out at 666, I don't consider myself any kind of, person who cares either way about that stuff. I'm sorry. I don't, like I said, please don't be offended in any way. But even that way, I was looking at there going, man, before I snapped the picture in that video, I waited so long. It probably felt like 5 minutes. It was probably about 30, 40 seconds. I stared at the multimeter going, click, come on, move. 665, 667, come on, something, anything. Please don't be 666. It just seems so creepy. So, but I just thought it was funny. And so a couple of people commented that 666, all his pickups, it was 666, 666, and 667. So I was like, oh, funny. So anyways, 0666 says, is a Strandberg worth selling some of my other guitars for? I'm having some arthritis in my hands and I thought the neck might help with it. I can't find one to try in my area. So I like the Strandberg guitars, and I've been very fortunate to work on a lot of them because I have some friends that are really into them. Some more so than not. And I don't consider the Strandberg, the Endura neck, which is what you're talking about. The Endura neck, if you guys don't know, the Strandberg guitars, which look like a Steinberger from back in the 80s, a little bit crazier, like a puzzle piece. It has what's called an Endura neck, which is asymmetrical. It's like all, it looks like, it's like, I don't know, it's all hard lines and squared off and different and weird. So what am I trying to say? I think it's unique. I think it's interesting. It's not what I would consider if you told me you have arthritis, what would I recommend for that? I don't think I would pick that guitar. When I think of arthritis and I think of the problems with arthritis, I would focus on just a comfortable shaped neck as much as possible. Something not very thick, right? So again, getting something not super thick and not super thin. Here's why. I'll explain it one more time. I've done this in the past. Your hand is stronger closed. Arthritis, not arthritis. I mean, I know it's hard to close your hand when you have arthritis, but think about it pre-arthritis, right? Your hand is stronger closed. So when you're trying to squeeze something, if you squeeze something that's an inch thick, you can have a lot of force. If you squeeze something that's 4 or 5 inches thick, you have less strength to do that with, right? So a thinner neck, not a thin neck, but a thinner neck sometimes helps your hand have a little bit more, or actually have to work so hard to get strength. So I'm not saying that's going to help with the arthritis. We're not there yet. What I'm saying is that staying away from a thick neck will help. You don't need a super thin neck because at some point the neck gets so thin it actually hurts the other way. So it's like kind of like the Goldilocks syndromes of necks. You need this perfectly medium neck. That being said, with arthritis, focus on strings. That will help you even more. There's a reason why. Look, there's 1,000 theories out there, and probably none of them are right and none of them are wrong. But cannot be a coincidence that B.B. King, Billy Gibbons, and every rock star blues person, I don't want to say blues star, is a blues star a thing? Blues player. Isn't it funny that they're blues players but rock stars? That's kind of funny. Anyways, blues player and rock stars, it can't be a coincidence that all of them, as they age, as they get older, they go lighter and lighter gauge strings to the point where you get 7s and Billy Gibbons. What I can tell you is I did a 7-string challenge and I had an old customer. I don't want to say old like age, like old. I had him for a long time. He saw that video. This was years ago when I did that video, and he bought 7-gauge strings and put them on his guitar and literally told me this, and it's true. It's not like, it's all 100% true. He was able to increase how long he could play by twice as long. So his hands, playing with arthritis, playing with that stuff, it hurts. And so literally he could tolerate twice as long to play. So if you have arthritis, before I would go with an Endura neck, before I'd run down that road, if you want a suggestion, first start with some light S strings. It's cheap, it's easy, go with it. You know what I mean? You can't go. I mean, $6 investment. Do that. See where that takes you. And here's what's great. You'll know whether or not what I'm saying is right or wrong for you by the second you try that. If you're literally like, I noticed no difference whatsoever, then you're like, okay, well then I'll go get an Endura neck. What do you got to lose then? But I would say put that in there. Put that investment out there. Gary Russell says, I have arthritis and the Music Man Cutlass soft V contour is far most comfortable for me with the nut. Right. So he's going through the guitar. And again, same thing. I would say, like I said, I don't think you need a special neck. I just think the neck has to be somewhat comfortable. And like I said, I would think about going lighter gauge strings because that's where you're exerting all the force. The neck doesn't really, I understand that changes your hand position and that can change comfort and a lot of things. But, really, it's going to be string. Roy Rogers said I went nylon. Right. If you're an acoustic player, instead you can always go lighter strings, nylon, of course, or you can go silk and steel. Sometimes when we say it fast, it says we're saying silicon steel, like silicon, but it's silk and steel. And silk and steel is a hybrid set of strings that you can put on a steel string acoustic, and they're going to feel a light tension, a lot more like a classical guitar, but not full out like classical because the 3 high strings are still metal and not nylon, but the low 3 strings are, I think they're nylon core wrapped in metal, just like a nylon string would is. So, that's what I said. Put that focus on there. I've had a lot of success giving this advice over the years, especially at the store, over the years with repairs, with all kinds of players. The setup, making sure the setup's right, lowering the gauge to a lighter gauge, and that seems to always go a long way. And then hopefully a lot of people are going to be commenting and giving you some insight on their experiences too. But like I said, the Endura neck is cool, but I don't really see it that way in my head. It's playing it. Nothing about it makes me go, wow, this is way less effort or stress on my hand. If anything, it's just to help you play a certain type of way really great, which a lot of that playing is like fast playing, jazz playing, shredding playing. Like I said, very cool concept in a neck, but not what I would perceive fix for that problem. Josh Smith says, he did a super chat, towards the next oil change for the dump truck. That's awesome. Yes. Yes. So last week I said I also am a hairdryer by night, and somebody said, "What about the dump truck?" I'm like, "Yeah, I have that too." So Okay, Alex says, hey, Phil, I don't have a Sam Ash near me. Is there still a way to ask for a discount online? Would they give me one on a gold top Les Paul? Thanks. Yeah, of course. Call them. They got a customer service number, sales number. You call it, ask, just like anybody else, like Guitar Center or whatever, you're going to call and they're going to go, do you want to talk to customer service or sales? And you're like, sales. You're going to get someone on the phone and say, hey, I want to buy this guitar. And they might have a call center like everybody else. And so you're going to call and you go, hey, I want to buy this gold top Les Paul. Can you make me a deal? And the answer is going to be yes, or obviously the answer is going to be no. But if the answer is no, if you can't get that through customer service, through the sales online force, and this goes for guitarcenter.com. It doesn't work for Sam Ash, unfortunately, or not Sam Ash, Sweetwater. But any of those things, if you're calling the call centers and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, that's just the price, or we can't do anything for you, then call a store. You can buy a guitar from a store. You can call Sam Ash and go, hey, I want to buy this guitar. I want to know if you make me a deal, and then have it shipped my house. Yeah, why not? They want to make the sale. They're going to do it. So, or they won't. And then you can let me know, and then I'll stop giving that advice. And I'll also probably call Sammy Ash and let him know, hey, man, because let me tell you, they're a culture. Sammy Ash and the Sam Ash family and Sam Ash stores are a culture of, they're a mom and pop. They're huge, like Guitar Center. And so they don't see mom and pop. They're still mom and pop. It's a family running that business. And, how I actually met Sammy Ash is the weirdest way, obviously through this YouTube gig and stuff, talking to him. But one of the things that happened that was really strange is I was at a Sam Ash with a friend who wanted to buy a very expensive guitar, very expensive, like $4,000 guitar. And they were asking for a deal because I suggested, hey, why don't you ask him for a deal? And he asked him for a deal. He's like, hey, can you make me a deal on this guitar? It's been sitting here for like 2 years, and I'm not exaggerating. Sitting there for 2 years. He wanted it. And they called Sammy Ash. And I was like, doesn't he have like a Fortune 5, not Fortune 500, but it's like $1 billion company. It's like huge, right? There's giant Sam Ash stores everywhere. Like they called Sammy Ash and he answered and then he approved it. That's hands-on, man. I was in shock. I was almost tempted to yell like when they're on the phone, like, hey, Sammy, it's Phil McKnight. How's it going? Right? But instead I was like, I just wanted to see what happened. So literally I watched an employee, not a manager of the store. I watched the employee call Sammy Ash and get approval. Remember, we're in Arizona. He's in New York. And he approved the deal. So, yeah. So I would call. That's all that just to tell you to call. I could have just said call and then go on to the next question. I apologize, Alex. Kevin says, ever tried Klein single coils? I have not. But you know what? That's like if you ever want a question where I could answer no to, ask me about every pickup builder ever. Sorry, I'm laughing so loud. I'm spiking the mic. It's like guitar manufacturers. I hear a new guitar manufacturer every single day. I hear a new amp manufacturer about it once every week. There's definitely less amp manufacturers than guitar manufacturers because it's hard. It's a hard entry business to get into. You can build a guitar much more inexpensively as a startup company than an amplifier for the most part, because you don't kill people if you do it wrong. And then pedal companies are another company where literally I can hear another pedal company every single day, but pickups are definitely something I can hear every single day. So I have not heard of those pickups, but let's go on. Also, who is your favorite hand-wound pickup company? Oh, okay. That's a good question. I love how genuine you come across. Thanks for everything, Phil. Okay. Obviously, I'm just like with pedals and stuff. I might pick friends like William Wiggins from Wiggins Pickups. I love his pickups. I know his wife. I know William. Great pickups. So, but part of that, like I said, I always tell you, I want you to always know what my bias is. My bias is I know them, so I like them. And I also like his pickups. So he's one I picked for that reason. The company that made the Angel pickups that I did the video on, it's still some of my favorite pickups. And why I like that pickup and that pickup builder is, some of I make some pickups. I do them for videos. Some of you have some of my pickups. There's stuff like that. But what it is what's different. Let's be very clear. What's different, why I acknowledge those pickups, the Angel pickups, why I did a video about those pickups, is they are great. I love them, and they are super cheap. I would not, me personally, appreciate he does it, which is why I have a set, and I recommend them to you guys. I would not make a set of pickups for that price. My time is worth more to me. And when I mean my time, I don't mean I'm rich and therefore I don't have time. I mean, I'd rather spend time with my daughter than wind you pickups for almost nothing. He might not have kids. That happens. Maybe he has a dog and the dog can sit next to him while he winds pickups. I can spend time with my dogs and wind pickups. I can't spend time with my kids and wind pickups. So everybody values time differently. So that he's definitely a pickup company that I would recommend because he makes great stuff. And I'll link in this video to the video, but it's the Angel pickups. If you look at my video series, the Angel pickups is the model number of the pickups. He's a pickup builder I like for hand wired pickups. And hand wired, I'm very, very, very specific on this. I do not, for me personally, consider a lot of pickups that are hand wired to be hand wired. Paul Richmond makes great pickups. They're not hand wired to me. Seymour Duncan, Larry DiMarzio, as you guys know, is a friend. Not really hand wired pickups. Great pickups, not hand wired. Hand wired is literally like, like when I wind a pickup, I'm sitting there holding the wire. It's like literally running through my finger. You know what I mean? I'm hand wiring it. There's something about that. I love this analogy. I've used it all the time for years. Hand winding pickups has an effect on the sound. It just does. It's not magic. There's no unicorn dust on the pickups. It's just, it's just like cooking. You know what I mean? There's just so many variances. Like when you do pinches of things versus measured out amounts, you're going to have sometimes a slightly better experience, sometimes a slightly lesser experience, but always a different experience. And therefore this has uniqueness, and the uniqueness translates into something. And so reason why I say that about hand wound is, and why I like hand wound pickups is, my analogy is there has to be something special to it, because if you notice, every company that makes hand wound pickups, in other words, they use the machines are trying to emulate and copy what hand winding does, like scatter wound is sometimes what we call it. Imagine if CNC machines were programmed to have mistakes. Imagine if they took a CNC machine, like, okay, cut this body out, but do it like a person would. So like screw up just a little bit. Right? They would never do that. It seems silly, right? No one would want to, oh, my guitar body's great. It's not handmade, but it looks handmade because look, it's got a mess up where they hit the knot and chipped it out and then used a filler, right? It's like I said, there is some magic to hand wound pickups, and of course they take a long time. When I say a long time, I've said this before. I do wind. A single coil pickup for me, I just for some reason wanted to know. I happen to know fresh is why I'm telling you why I know fresh. I had Ralph time it. 6 minutes. It was 6 minutes. It's like 5 something for the wind and everything in, and 6 minutes for the soldering of the wire. So about 6 minutes to 7 minutes to construct. You know what I mean? After I put the bobbins on and stuff. So let's round that up a little bit. You know what I mean? Let's say it takes 10 minutes to make a single coil pickup by hand. You know what I mean? That's not fast enough for a manufacturer that needs thousands of pickups out every day. So there you go. So they got to go faster than that. I know it's funny what we talk about a long time. By the way, 6 minutes feels like a long time when you're holding it. Like I said, I've always likened winding pickups is like going fishing. Same experience. You sit there and, you hold the line and you wait. And then eventually it's over. And you go home. All right. All right. Let's I'm looking at comments. Anyone got any comments on this subject? Joshua says, sure they can. That's what the random function is for. Yes, any smiley face. I know what he means. Of course. But like I said, it's just something about it. It's just always a little different. Okay. Anyone else got any comments on this subject before I go to the next question or next subject? I just like. Yeah. Guitar Science said hand wired means somebody sat there with a winder and made it and not a machine. That's exactly it. That's it. But here, and then there's different layers, right? What I also call artisan. Okay. This is something that, that's important. I find is important to I don't want to say validate. That's not the right word. To value. Artisan is something I value. I'm not going to tell you guys what to value. I'm going to tell you why I value artisan and what artisan means to me. So we use words like boutique pickups, boutique pedals, boutique amps, all that stuff's great. Sure. Boutique is limited. Boutique is made in a garage somewhere, whatever you think boutique is. That's great. Let me tell you what I think artisan is. Artisan means it was made by that person. So like, for instance, handmade pickups are cool, right? Somebody I think it was, I'm Not All Inventions made a comment like, get your kids to wine pickups, but the pickup wouldn't be made by me. So to me, it's not that the pickup itself is important. It's sometimes the artisan is important. In other words, it's made by a specific person. I talk about LPD pedals quite often. Lawrence makes his pedals. Lawrence does it. If you have an LPD pedal, you have a pedal that Lawrence made. He made it. No helpers, right? He's just doing it. So somebody says, I hear artisan, I think cheese. Yeah, sure, why not? But I like the term artisan because, again, if something is an artisan pedal, artisan pickup, it means that person made it. Though the idea that that's not sustainable, and that's why it has value to me. No one who is going to be successful is going to be able to make the product all by themselves for very long. Eventually, one day, that's how it works. Like, Paul Reed Smith did not make your guitar. You have a Paul Reed Smith guitar, Paul Reed Smith did not make it. Unless you have a really, really, really old one and one of the first ones, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm saying that's different. So it's different to me sometimes when a person is making every single thing, because here's why that's important to me. One, it means it's a more emotional connection to the idea that somebody made it. It kind of makes it unique. But also, it makes it unique because they can only physically make so many before they got to get helpers. Floopity Doo says, Luis made my PAL 800. And so I have an artisan pedal. Yes. Well, Pedal Pal, again, another friends of mine, Luis and Alvaro. If you have a pedal, one of them made it. One or the other. It's those two friends, two partners. Same thing. You know what I mean? It's very cool, especially when you do the math and you go, nothing wrong with this. I'm not getting, we're not villainizing or, making it sound, I don't know what I'm trying to say, guys. I'm trying not to piss anybody off, so let me just say it the way I want to say it. When I buy a $200 paddle that's mass-produced by a company, it doesn't really piss me off. I just know there's nothing special there other than I got what I needed. It's a product. I wanted it. It sounds a certain way. I'm excited. Great, done. But when I buy a $200 pedal that was made by a person, and I know that it fed them and it paid their rent, and they put, and they stayed up nights and they missed out on watching the soccer game, or or that. It means something to me. It's probably because I'm a small businessman, and in small business, if you're a small business person, sometimes the untangible is all of those soccer games missed, all of those moments missed, either with your children or your friends or something like that, right? It's those late nights, and so therefore I value that. That's where I value things, for me. But it's not real. It's not tangible. It's not something I can clarify with honest to goodness tangible things. I just like that stuff. Amanda Coombs said Tessie switches are the same. Of course. I like I said, small companies. That's why, like I said, we like to talk about them on the channel. I don't, like I said, it's funny. So, DD says link for Angel pickups. All righty. Hold on a second. Let's do this. While we're here, let me try it and see if I can do it. I want to see if I can just grab real quick while I'm talking. Let's see if I can multitask, everybody. There we go. Let me go. Oh, look at this. Okay, but I don't want to play the video. Okay, so here, I'm going to put it in the chat so you guys will have it. Let's see if I can do this. Paste. The company is called Octave Doctor, and the pickups are called the Angel pickups. So there you go. I just put a link for those in live, and then, of course, I'll have a link for the rebroadcast. But there you go. Check out his pickups because, like I said, they're great, and I think they're fantastic for the price. For the price, well, they're fantastic, period, but the price is definitely impressive. What What else do we have? We have Robert Baker. Robert Baker, not the YouTube channel, but our friend from New Jersey who says, hello, Phil. No question. Fine. No, just showing some love. It's date night, so I will be leaving early and catching the replay tomorrow. Feel free to make a joke and have a great weekend. Yeah, here's the joke. Not really, but here's the comment. I'm so glad that date night is not watching this. If your date night is, hey, we watched you talk about guitar stuff for ever on YouTube, I would say, yeah, you're not going to make it very long. I don't know. Or maybe you have the coolest wife/girlfriend ever, maybe. But I'm glad date night is going out. Enjoy date night is what I'm trying to say. Jimmy T568 says Highlander guitar weeks away from opening a brick and mortar guitar. Oh, Highlander guitar. If it says AM, I don't know what the AM stands for. Highlander guitar AM, weeks away from opening a brick and mortar. I have 3 teachers lined up and to rent space for lessons and 3 sales tech. Okay, builder. I have a social media sales manager, 3 labels, being a dealer. Anything I missed? I have no idea. Because I mean, I understand that I'm running down that information, but, no, here's the deal. The only advice I will give, if I'm giving us a thing about what you missed, is don't worry about what you missed. Be ready to pivot and move quickly. So the only thing I can tell you is, and it's even more so true now, like I said, sometimes when you do something and then you stop, like I had a store and then I stopped, the information I have is maybe dated at some point, right? You know, I'm also Oracle-based certified. So I'm like, you know, sometimes that's relevant, but like the fact that I can run an AS400 system is not really relevant anymore. Right. So what I'm saying is sometimes what you know becomes dated. What I will tell you is the stuff I know about what you're doing is still relevant because it's more so relevant now than it was when I was doing it, which is be ready to pivot and adjust quickly. So you have teachers, great. If you get a lot of students, lean into that. If you're not getting students, lean away from it. You know what I mean? Same thing. You have a builder, great. If he's building guitars and he's getting stuff done for you and you're having great experience there, great. If it's not, pivot away from it. You know what I mean? Basically, don't try to plan everything out and then execute that plan to the T. Be prepared to, Jimmy T, don't follow the plan to the T. Don't be afraid to adjust the plan if you need to. That is where I found my most success in life. I literally am a pivoter on many, many occasions. I have pivoted in many times in my life, and I would love to say, and every time it was the right decision. But what I will tell you is every time I pivoted, it wasn't the right decision, but it ended in the right decision because eventually I was like, and that's sometimes some of the things you have to do. And if you want to be in business and you want to take your hard-earned cash and throw it down and say, I'm going to take a chance on this, if you're going to be stubborn, you're probably going to go out of business. So be prepared. That's it. And also, congratulations to you, and man, I'm very excited for this. So it's Highlander guitar. The only thing is, it says AM. Where's it at? So if you could put in the comments where your store is going to be at, that would help and let people know. And if you have a website, post it out. Post out the website so people know. We're guitar players. We're very interested in hearing about another guitar place to get guitars. It's just how it works. One more guitar store? Like how many? Everybody was talking about how many guitars is enough. How many guitar stores is enough? One more. Pablo says, what is your favorite pedal and have you ever built your own inspired? Okay, and then that's the end of that question. It says, inspired after the pedal movie. How about you? Okay, so have I ever built my own pedal? I have not. I've built 2 amplifiers, 5E3s. So I built 2 of those. That was a fun experience. That was different. I've never built my own pedal, not even like a little kit. I've never had any desire. I've modded a pedal here and there, but not like for any specific reason, you know, and I've fixed a couple of my pedals because sometimes you'd have to fix stuff. Plunger, the switch goes bad, part goes bad. I've changed out a part here and there, but nothing inspired me to build a pedal. But what's funny about that is, what is your favorite pedal? That's a good question. And, you know, I got asked this we were talking about earlier about me being on other channels. Somebody asked me what was my favorite amp, pedal, and guitar. And what's funny about it was I answered it, and that's what happens when you're live. You just answer a question, thinking for the 5 seconds you have to think. And I think I said I wouldn't even pick a pedal. I would pick like my Mark V Mini and then my Princeton. and one of those 2 amps, and then like a Strat or something like that. After further thinking about it, after that question, because this is what happens, you have time to ponder. So it's your question was asked a couple weeks ago on another channel that I was on, and so now I've had time to ponder this question. I have an answer for you that's actually more accurate than the one I gave there. If I could have 1 amp and 1 pedal and 1 guitar, which is not your question, but I'm going to give it to you because it's the 1 pedal, it would be, I'm looking right now, it would be the Dirty Shirley Mini. Of course, I need a cabinet, but I'm assuming I get the cabinet, right? If not, I guess I get a combo. But I would take my Dirty Shirley Mini, my Lawrence Petros 87 pedal, and Nathan's Custom 24. And so like unlike the normal live experience that we're having right now, where you guys ask me a question and I kind of have to pull from the 5 seconds I have that you give me to think. Otherwise, you can't let me sit here for 10 minutes thinking about pondering a question. I have pondered this, literally hours. I'm not exaggerating. Sitting at the side of the pool in the backyard, probably drinking a beer or some kind of beverage, maybe a Diet Coke, I don't know, or something. But anyways, I was drinking something and just thinking about it. That's what it is. That's what it is. That pedal, that amp, and that guitar. And so much so, I even played around messing with amps and guitars. So I think that's what I would pick. Now, in a year from now, ask me again. Maybe it's a different time. But right now, that's definitely what I'm prepared to do. And it's because I figured out I could get everything I need out of those. The Dirty Shirley gives me the vintage sound I need. It gives me a clean sound I like. It does everything I need. In fact, I have a new Friedman amp, but I can't even say that amp yet because I love it, but I'm in honeymoon right now. But the Dirty Shirley I've had for over a year or longer. And the 87, same thing. I've had for a long enough time to know that I'm comfortable with it. And Nathan's guitar, just because, hey man, my friend made me that guitar, and if I do like a guitar a little bit more than that, it's only for some stupid reason, like maybe I just like the way it feels a little bit more, just maybe something more, but there's no way that I'm ever going to have a connection emotionally like I do with that guitar. So, okay. What else? Look at the next question. Let me take a drink of water while I think and look at these questions. Nick S says, hey Phil, just came across a 2013 Gibson 70s Tribute SG with dirty finger pickups. Good condition for $800. Worth it? Any experience with them? Lots of experience with them. Obviously, the Tribute series stuff is very common in the Gibson realm. It's tough now, man. It's a tough thing asking me what stuff's worth. It's all over the place. It's literally all over the place. I highly suggest buying Gibson Tribute stuff. There is definitely, and I've said this before, there's definitely a proof of that. If you want proof that Tribute stuff has value, look at my 2 million viewed Sam Ash video. That's from 2016. It's one of my first videos. I go into Sam Ash and I buy a Gibson Tribute P90 Les Paul for $400. That video is riddled with comments. Oh, this is a fake video. He can't buy that guitar for $400. Literally at the time of that video, the going price of the guitar, high, I know it's normal, $500. Right? The guitar was selling all day for $500. Finding it for $400 was a deal, sure. But you could find one for $400 anywhere. It was cool. I found one. It was $400. Now that guitar, $800, like your guitar, to $1,000 for a P90 Tribute gold top. Everybody's like, oh, it's planted. They planted it. And then they don't look at the date. So if you look at the date, let me tell you, when that video came out, go look on the internet, do a little research, you'll find exactly what I'm saying. That guitar literally I bought a guitar for what they were going for. Like I said, maybe $1,500 less, maybe. So what's that? 10 to 20% below the high end on the market. And now it's worth $8,000. There you go, or more. So yeah, we do know they go up. Tributes go up. Why? Because here's the thing. Gibsons just have value. They say Gibson. It starts there. Doesn't matter after that. Everything else is another reason why it holds value. But the Gibson logo is bulletproof. I've just come to this conclusion. Here's why it's bulletproof. Think about the entire history of Gibson. Still one of the best brands out there, best performing brands, sought after brands. It's bulletproof. It's a brand that is just people want. And so there you go. To this date, I still talk about this. I have more Gibson guitars than any other brand of guitar. By far. It's not, I don't want to say it's not a close second. I can tell you exactly so you know. I have more Gibsons. The most amount of guitars I own are Gibsons. Then after that, I think it's PRS's. But if it is, it's by one. Because I think it's either tied or one more than I have Fenders. And then Fender is one or two more than I have Ibanez. And after that, I don't only have like one of any kind of particular brand. But like if I talk about brands that I own a lot of guitars, Gibson is by far the most. Not almost by double what I have PRS's. Almost. And all over the place. Just so with Gibsons, I have lower end price Gibsons and I have higher end ones. I don't have a tribute, but like behind me right now, you can see that's a Gibson SG with two P90s. It's not a very expensive guitar. That guitar, when I got it, probably used, was probably worth $800 at the time. I don't know what it's worth now. Probably 800 to 1,000. I mean, it's probably, but yeah. So there you go. Yeah. So a lot of people echoing Gibsons, Fender, PRS, the big three. Somebody said Gibson Investments. I mean, of course, you're going to get people like, I hate Gibson. Screw Gibson. They could suck off and die. Yeah, of course. Everybody's going to say that about all kinds of brands. That's an opinion. Doesn't make it wrong. That's an emotional response. Doesn't make that inappropriate. However, factually speaking, those guitars hold value, which is why sometimes I buy one. So, you know, I bought a Gibson today. I'm not even making that up. I literally bought a Gibson today. So, in fact, since I'm telling you, when I started the show saying, I'm sorry guys, I was running errands, that's the errand I was running. I was going to pick up a Gibson that I bought. I had to go pick it up. So there you go. Yeah. So yeah, buy a Gibson. I don't think you'll regret it. $800 is the only thing I can't tell you, man. It sounds like probably what they're worth. Don't know, but more accurate than me is going to be the market. So go on Reverb, look at sold auctions, what they sold for. Go to eBay, look at sold auctions. You'll get a sense of that. You'll get a sense of what I'm seeing it more and more. So, I'm seeing more and more where you're looking at prices online through Reverb and eBay and you're like, man, $3,000, that's crazy. Or $500, that's nuts. And then you look at complete auctions, nothing selling for that price. They're just listed at that price. So be aware. You can, and so that's what I'm saying. If there's 10 of those guitars listed for $800 each, that still doesn't mean that's what it's worth. It's worth what you're willing to pay for it, one. And it's also decided by what other people paid for it, because that kind of leads up. Because obviously, if somebody's willing to pay it and you're not, they're going to get it. So just do that and you'll be fine. But yeah, definitely cool. Dirty Fingers are good pickups. Like I said, I'm a big fan of Gibson pickups as a whole. To the point where, like I said, I've never, and again, it's just my personal thing. I have told you I have more Gibsons than the other guitar. I have never replaced a Gibson pickup with another brand pickup. Every Gibson I have, I can't say they all have stock Gibson pickups. That's not true. I have replaced Gibson pickups, but only with other Gibson pickups. And it's only usually because maybe I like one type of pickup over others. My ear tends to gravitate towards 57s, 57 classics. I like those sometimes, so I like them in some guitars. I like the Burstbuckers. Not huge fan of Burstbucker Pro, but I like them okay, but I like the Burstbuckers more. I like the 490T. Is that it? 490T, right? Like I said, and Dirty Fingers, I've had good luck with them. What's in my SG with is something 60s. Again, remembering all this stuff is just after a while becomes just numbing. Right. I wish everybody would just name no numbers. Just every pickup should just be a name. Just makes it easy. And then of course lots of comments now. I'm seeing the sections. I love my gold top. Yeah, of course. Yeah, there is way worse things you can do with your money than put them into a Gibson. That's my feeling. That's what I do. I'm not giving you advice. I'm not saying invest in Gibsons. I'm saying there's worse things you can do with your money. Oh, thank you. So Shady MD said, oh, what do you think of the 61 RT? That's what's in my SG. I like them, but when I did the video with Ralph, and he has the same SG as me, just different color, he had 57s in his. I thought his sounded better than my guitar. And the comments in that video echo that sentiment. I didn't say that in the video, by the way. I don't think I did. I think I read the comments and I'm like, yeah, I agree. So I'm just saying it got, you know, I like them, but I think I like the 57s. I did not change them out though, because I have 57s in another guitar. You know, sometimes I want them to be a little bit different, so I don't want to make them all the same. Yeah, and Grumpy Mike Guitar says, I have to admit, I really like burst buckers. I do too. Burst buckers are a really funny thing. I did a video, like 5 things you don't know about the Gibson, and I talk about the burst buckers. When you learn about Gibson pickups, one of the things you learn is sometimes we you know, names kind of color what we think. And burst buckers like, oh, I don't like high output pickups. I'm like, actually, they're low output pickups. They're actually very vintagey. It's kind of funny. So. Yeah, Nick says, if you think pickup numbers are bad, computer parts are a whole different level of number hell. Yeah, but see, here's the thing, and I agree with that, but here's the thing. You're not usually passionate about that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? You need that stuff. It's important. So you don't mind. You know, I need a 562 34 D42, whatever. And you're like, okay, cool. But, you know, sometimes it's just not cool. Like, what do you like? Oh, I like 61s. You know, I want to be like, you know, I don't know, have a cool name. Like Angel Pickups. Paints a picture, doesn't it? What does it sound like? Like angels. That's the tone I was going for. Or, man, that's not the tone I'm going for. I'm in a death metal band. All right. How are we doing? We got to get to Ross. Ross's question says, I have a Fender Jazz bass and P bass. I want a third bass. Should I get a music? I was going to laugh because I'm like, I knew he was going to ask this. Should I get a Music Man Stingray or a Spectre bass? So I'm horrible at this because I like Music Man basses. When I say I like them, I like them on the wall at the stores. They play great. They sound amazing. And everyone I've ever picked up personally has been 600 to 650 pounds. So I always put it right back. I'm not a big fan of that, of the weight on those. So if that doesn't bug you and you don't mind, you know, maybe you want to lift it above your head a few times a day and get a little workout, or then you can go for it. I'm not a big fan of the weight, but I love the way they sound. So that's why I'm telling you that, because there's nothing, I'm telling you, I have nothing against them other than silliness, which is that. Or the Spectre. Well, the Spectre, I play a Warwick bass. A bass is I have a custom model Warwick bass that I play. And it's a Spectre licensed instrument. So a lot of people, when they see my work, they think I have a Spectre because it looks like the Spectre bass, but it's Warwick licensed, that design from Spectre. And that's what I play. So that's why I'm telling you that, because I'm obviously, I don't want to be like, get the Music Man, even though I kind of own the Spectre. For me, it's not a sound thing. I don't have the Warwick / Spectre bass for a sound. I have it because it's the bass I've been wanting since, you know, I was like 18 years old. For some reason, Spectre basses, like, I mean, I love Flea and he had a Music Man and you know what I mean? But I mean, for some reason, it was like Rachel Bolan from Skid Row. There was just a ton of bass players that had Spectres. I think the bass player from Alice in Chains had a Spectre. Like, I just remember on MTV, every cool bass player I thought was cool had a Spectre. Even Nikki Sixx, I think, had a Spectre, right? I mean, I know he used the Gibson all the time, but I think he has Spectre too. I think I remember him having a white one. Doug Wimbosh, you know, Spectre. I feel like every time I saw somebody cool, I was like, oh man, they have a Spectre. So I was like, I want a Spectre. And so that was like a lifelong dream to get that. And so I did it. But I got a Warwick because, you know, I like Warwicks too. And to me, it was like, just pick one. And also, Spectre doesn't make the bass that I have. In fact, Warwick doesn't make the bass I have as a production model. That's why I say it's custom. When I say it's custom, I don't mean I pick the color and stuff. Mine is specifically different than anything Warwick makes as a production model. You have to buy it custom. So that's my answer on that. Curtis did a super chat for no reason, man. Thank you. Freeman 1 says, hey, Phil, I have practice amps, Black Star Fly, Spark. Okay, so he's got the Black Star Fly and a Spark. He says, what amp would I have when I started getting pedals? What? I'm going to back up. This is not making sense to me, but I understand. So basically, we got Black Star Fly. That's a little battery practice amp. It's awesome, by the way. If you ever need a battery practice amp, still my favorite one to this day. They even have one in fluorescent green now, and they have Def Leppard's graphics on one. Don't they have like AC/DC or Kiss on another one? It's like cool stuff. He says, and he has a Spark, which is, again, another very good amp. As you know, everybody's decided. Spark's like the new Katana, and the idea new meaning everyone's like toting it, but it's because it's like the Katana. It's a very good for what it is. It's a great amp for the money. It says, what amp should I have when I start getting pedals? So he's saying, I get what the question now. I had to read it again. So he wants to know what wattage amplifier should he get when he's starting getting pedals. I use pedals through the Spark. I have no problems. Just use that. That's what I would do. I don't even know if I would worry about getting, you don't have to worry about a wattage, what I'm trying to tell you. Just buy an amp. The pedals, it won't matter. The wattage is going to depict how loud the amp's going to get, but not necessarily how good the pedals are going to sound unless you're cranking the amp. And let me dive in that for 1 second just to make sure. Somebody said, Fox and the Hound says 100 watts minimum. Yeah, look, you can take a 5 watt or a 1 watt tube amp. Perfect example. Take the 1 watt tube Black Star amp or the 1 watt Marshall amp or whatever. Take a 1 watt amp. You can stick pedals in it. And playing in your bedroom, it's going to be fine. So the wattage has to do with what you need it to do. So you can run it through a 3 watt amp, a 50 watt amp, a 100 watt amp, a 10 watt amp. I wouldn't worry about that stuff. So there you go. All right. It's really scrolling right now. I'm trying to grab a. Vince's question says, Phil, I really like the review you did on the PRS SE Hollow-body Piezo. He said, thank you. Did you say, he's asking me if I said that the Piezo is going to be improved on the core model. No, I don't think it is. That's what I'm saying. It was improved, according to Jack Higginbotham, COO of PRS, who runs SE. They improved the Piezo system for the SE model. And I don't remember if I specifically asked him this question or if I just talked about it, alluded to it, but I talked about, updating the core, and he didn't seem to know because he doesn't run core, he runs SE. But the impression I got was no. The hollow body core guitars take forever to make. I think it's like a 16-month waiting list or some crazy thing like that, and maybe it's longer now. They take a while. So, and they don't make a whole lot of them, so I don't think there's a whole lot of effort to really want to change or improve that instrument in any way. You know what I mean? The old saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. If they're selling and they're on a back order list, is improving it a priority? I don't think so. Nostro, like Nostradamus. Nostro 1001 said, Doug Wimbosh is such a great bass player and he barely gets any mention. Excellent shout out there, Phil. Yeah, of course. Dude, he's amazing. And yes. Well, first of all, this is a conversation I had a week ago with a bunch of friends. Living Colour is a band that doesn't get any credit. There's another band that's fantastic. Fantastic band. So if you're not a fan, I understand, but I'm a huge fan. Fantastic. Super underrated. And in my opinion, really never got the credit they deserve. And again, I'm just looking at anything that's relative to what we're talking about before I go on to the next thing, which I'm going to do. All right, so now we're going to go to Seb37. He did this. He sent me a picture. I just want to share it with you. It's a picture of it's a weird thing, drinking a cup of coffee. I'm sure you see it. It's in the chat. It's a super sticker. It's very cool. Thank you. Grumpy White Guitar said, for the tone jar and why not? That's his slogan, by the way. It's like, know your gear. And he's like, and why not? And he says, I'm kind of curious about the blue bass over your left shoulder. Not sure if I've seen that one before. So blue bass over my left shoulder is the Stu-Ham Urge model. This is a 32-inch scale bass. This is a prototype one, I think. No, I just don't remember the exact details. It's a urge bass. It's so Stu Ham was the first artist bass player to get a signature instrument with Fender, and I think a full design because it's based off of some stuff that Phil Kubicki did. If you guys know, Kubicki basses back in the day, he left. He had Kubicki basses. I think Stu Ham, when he went from Kubicki to Fender, I think Phil Kubicki went with him and started designing stuff for Fender. Again, doing off memory. Sure, you can Google Wikipedia and get the whole synopsis of everything, but this is just a general guide over. I only own currently. I mean, I've had like 4 or 5 basses, and that's it for years. I currently own 3. That's it. My custom shop Warwick that was made specifically for me, my custom Fender that I've had since 2003, and this Stu Ham urge bass. And literally, I play them, but like I've said, I play mostly my one Fender bass all the time. So. Because I play every day, and that's the bass I play every day. But yeah, I don't know if I have a video. I'm sorry, I don't know if I have a video specifically about the urge bass. I probably do, but I definitely have videos where it's in there and I've talked about it. But now you think about it, maybe I need to do. I know it sounds silly, but maybe I want to do it. I think maybe I want to do a 5 things you don't know about the urge bass, because it is a different bass and it's got a unique story. Never thought to do that before until you just mentioned that. Thank you, Grumpy Mike. I might do that now. Look at this. I've already created 2 new videos I have to do from this show. James, he says, can you describe your process for selling on Reverb when an item has sat for a month with no bites? I started with no offer button and a fair price. Okay, so here's the tough part, James. First, I don't list anything on Reverb. Somebody does it for me, so that's kind of cheesy, right? Secondly, from what I understand, everything sells with like an hour to 24 hours. That's the benefit of having a YouTube channel. So obviously, I can't advise, hey, get a YouTube channel, try to figure out how to get 300,000 subscribers, and then and maybe you'll sell stuff in a minute. That's just silly advice, right? That wouldn't help you. So here's what I would tell you what helps you. I personally, as a buyer on Reverb, and often purchasing on Reverb, I find that, there's a couple key things to the listing. We've talked about what you should do to sell and stuff. Let's talk about the listing. First is be accurate in your description is, of course, an obvious one, but also take the time to actually put a description. Dude, how many times? I'm going to go on tangents, James, but you'll get all your information, I promise. How many times? Are you guys freaking sick of this? How many times have you clicked on a $3,000 guitar, $500 guitar, whatever the hell it is, and the description is like 3 words? Right? Like 89 Gibson Les Paul. And you're like, what? Like nothing? No information? No, like, how the frets go, and what condition are they in, right? Nothing. So be descriptive is what I'm trying to say. Try to cover some key points. If it's an amp, if it's a guitar, you didn't say, so we'll just cover all things. Look, and don't copy paste. That's new information. Everybody does that too. That's not helpful. So like when you go to Sweetwater Guitar Center and you find the product you're selling used and you copy paste the literally it's called copy, the copy that the manufacturer wrote, that's useless information. You're buying it used. You need to know specific what is about that used guitar, not what that product line is about. Like, I again, I'm just going to go over my pet peeves. This will help you with what you shouldn't do, because I'm sure there are a lot of pet peeves out there like mine, where I'm like, I click on a used guitar, let's say a used American Strat, and the first thing in the sentence is, the American Strat was introduced into blah, 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 and it's like the fastest selling line in Fender's history, and it's some Wikipedia page crap or something they grabbed off the Fender website. So definitely just put information about the guitar. Here's a guideline that will help you. Anything you can't show in a picture or you feel isn't coming across correctly in a picture, describe that. So for instance, if you have a picture of this guitar right here, and obviously from this, looking at this guitar, this PRS that I'm pointing at, you can't tell what pickups in there. Please put what pickups are in there. You can't tell, right? It would be nice if you labeled the color. Anything that's important that you feel might make somebody return it if they don't know, like it's got a dent in the back of the neck. That's important information, even if it doesn't come in the picture. So I mean, like I said, put that information, be as detailed as possible. The more detail, I think the better you're going to sell the guitar, because the more you look like you gave a crap to sell it, the more you're putting somebody at ease to buy it, because they know for the most part they're protected from reverb. In other words, if you send them something and it's not what you described, they can send it back. But who wants to go through that hell? Right? Gary's saying blurry pictures bug me. Right. I mean, come on, man. Everybody has a phone. You can't hold the phone still for a second. Tampa Blue says change your name to Phil McKnight. That might not help you. So, but anyways, the important part of this is, like I said, be descriptive with your product and give details, as much detail as possible. That will help. Also, the other thing you can do is sometimes tell people, if it's relevant, please, again, if it's relevant, why you're selling it. It sometimes matters. Most time not. Like, you don't have to say like, hey, I bought this and I thought it sucks. You can be like, hey, I'm selling it because, I'm getting another guitar. That sometimes, again, puts people at ease. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay. It's not, I'm selling it because it's horrible. Especially if you're selling it for a legitimately good reason. Tell people that. Like, I'm selling that to pay my taxes. I'm selling this to buy another amp. I'm selling this to this thing. That helps me as a consumer understand, like, oh, okay, why would, if it's so great, why would you let it go? That makes sense. If that, and then also, because I'm giving good advice, if you're selling it because you do hate it, well, then don't say that. Just don't say anything, because they don't need to know the bad information. Just if you have good information, make sure they know that. Fox in the Hand says, show the serial number or it looks shady. Again, we've had this conversation before on the show where I show serial numbers. I could give two craps. People blur them out all the time. I've heard 1,000 reasons why. It's up to you. Again, that is not something I'm going to give you advice on, right? I'm going to tell you what I do. The serial number is always disclosed in the picture. So there you go. David says you can name your shop Phil McKnight's Friend Shop. These are great suggestions, but maybe not so great suggestions, as I'm saying. So that's things you can do. Now, the other thing, back to your comment again, James, is you said that you start with no offer button. Always start. Look, if you're willing to take an offer, put an offer button. Simple. Right? And sometimes you're like, well, I'm not going to take an offer. This is the price I want. But later, put the offer button. I guess that if that's what you're willing to do, do it. Like I said, don't just do it because just because the offer button is there. Like you said, you start with no offer button and a fair price. Nothing wrong with that strategy either. However, keep in mind, here's the problem. When stuff sits for a long time, fair price is not always the right statement. In other words, I understand what fair price means. It means you're being reasonably minded, right? You paid this, you think it's worth this, and if somebody's, but the sad thing is you don't get to decide what anything sells for. Somebody decides what they're willing to pay for it. That's the real life there. So if it's if you're listing it and it's sitting and you're like, hey, it's a fair price, but nobody's buying it, it's not so much that it's an unfair price, just no one's going to pay that. So that's a realistic thing. But this gives me the second, the piece of advice is important. It's just something I think. One freaking thing I hate about Reverb when it comes to listings is if you take a listing off and you repost it because it's not selling, they go back in the retro to the original date you listed it. I don't know what it is about Reverb. eBay was never this bad, but Reverb seems really bad with this. The longer something is on Reverb, it's like the less it's going to sell. It's not, I'm not saying it won't sell once it's been on there, but the longer it sits, the longer it's not going to sell. And the longer you're going to have to deal with somebody sending you offers that you didn't even ask for. Like you said, you don't have an offer button, they're going to email you. So reason I'm telling you that is, if I put something on Reverb and let's say they came to me and they said, hey, Phil, I listed it because I've, like I said, somebody does it for me, which is very, very kind of them. Because I just don't have time to do that stuff sometimes. So I have people help me. I have friends and family. It's okay. And they'll say, hey, it's not selling. Instead of adjusting the price, we do that sometimes. But a lot of times we take it down and repost an entire new listing. and a new price, but an entirely new listing. Now, if you have a price and you decrease the price, Reverb will tell people it's been discounted, and sometimes that's good because people go, oh, it discounted, I'm going to get it, especially if people have been looking at it. But sometimes if you have something listed and you decrease it after like 3 weeks, the vultures come in. Everybody just goes, well, they went from 1,000 to 800. Maybe they'll do 6. And then you're just going to get lots of low offers because you've invited that problem by decreasing your price. So sometimes that works, but my experience is if you decrease your price and it doesn't sell within 24 hours of decreasing your price, 48 max, go ahead, take the listing down, you don't have to take new pictures, but you have to create a entirely new listing and then relist. So there you go. And then just because it segues into this same conversation, Ray M says, have you ever sold something using PayPal? I have many times with great success. But like I said, I read people more so than situations. And almost every time I've used PayPal, not only do I trust PayPal as a service, the person I was dealing with was either somebody I knew or somebody I had a sense of, and I felt confident in my personal, judgment to go, yeah, this is something I want to do. I want to do this. Okay. So yeah, I haven't had a problem with it. John says, people ask me why I'm selling and I always say money. That's exactly it. You know what I mean? That's a great comment. I love that comment. If somebody said, yeah, I'm selling this because I need money or I want money or right? Everybody understands that, right? Some people just say thin in the collection. Totally understand. We've all been there, right? What happens sometimes when it's the saying, right? Too good to be true. Sometimes you buy an instrument and you list it because it's a hot ticket and the price is great. Like you said, you put a fair price on it. Think about what you're doing and how it actually hurts you, even though you did nothing wrong. You take good pictures. Let's say you followed my advice. Okay, so let's go back to this. So James, let's say you followed all the tips I gave you. You take good pictures. You put a great description. You put a fair price. It's perfect. You can become, not always, but you can become a victim of, unfortunately, that. Somebody looks at it and goes, wow, great price, great looking instrument. Wow, perfect. He says it's in great condition. Too good to be true. So sometimes saying I'm selling it because I'm thinning the herd or I'm after something else or I just need money or I just want, whatever. It lets people know you stating that means that you're not stating the other thing, which is this guitar plays funky or has problems or makes a weird noise or whatever it is that you're having a problem with. When you're buying used, they're saying sometimes when you buy used, you're buying somebody else's problems. That's what you're trying to eliminate when you're doing the purchase. So those are all things I would suggest to you. And again, I don't know if these are great suggestions, but they're definitely things I follow. And they've helped me. Pre-YouTube world, when I sold on YouTube, that's why I said it's no help to you. Pre-YouTube, when I was a YouTube person, whatever that is, on Reverb, I would sell through my store, my physical retail store. So, I mean, it's not like we paid attention to anything. You know what I mean? It's different. When you're selling stuff personal, it's a much different experience. You're paying attention to it. When you're a store, you list like 500 things and then every day something sells. You don't really think about like, oh man, this thing hasn't sold. What are we going to do? It's just after a while, if something hasn't sold, which does happen, you just discount it and you move on. No emotional attachment, no need to recoup cash, just, doing your thing. Shut Up, Let's Talk says, what up, Phil? What's your favorite riff you use as your guitar tester and why? A great question. Is good, especially since guitar tester, and it would depend on if I was testing clean or dirty, right? Like a dirty sounding amp or clean sounding amp. And I don't have a riff. I have dozens of riffs that I've learned so some people probably have songs that they like, right? Like I play this song every time, or I play this, this thing, or a song you wrote or a riff you wrote. I have riffs from just like, okay, when I want to hear if this amp's metal enough, I do this metal style riff. If I want to hear if this is blues enough, I do a blues riff. So I have some riffs that I just kind of follow and do. Very rarely are they actual songs that I'm playing to test at a piece of gear. But yeah, I do have different riffs, but I mean, I have a lot of different ones, at least a dozen or so. And I'm just throwing numbers out of my head, but I mean a lot, because I test a lot of stuff and I want to see how it captures that sound. And I would love to interject, like, but me personally, when I'm buying something for myself, what do? Same thing. It's just because I've learned to test everything. That comes from, like, new product comes in your store and you were testing it and you want to see that, to, you know, checking out stuff and YouTube demoing now. It just becomes a thing. So I do have some songs that I like to play, right? Maybe some extreme Porno Graffiti type songs off that album. I'll play some Bowling for Soup stuff I like. I'll play some John Mayer riffs, because it's like everybody who's basically over the age of 40 has to play a John Mayer riff. It's funny, isn't it? It's just like a thing. I'm not saying people under 40 don't play it, because they do. I'm just saying it's like a thing. All of a sudden it's a thing. We all just do it. I do it too. It's like, I think at the core of it, when I try a product, oh, you know what? And that's probably the answer to your question that would make the most sense. If I try testing a piece of gear, I probably play the closest. If I know the actual riff or the song, I play that. But if I don't, I play the closest thing I can to the thing that I connect to that piece of gear. So a good example would be, like, if I plug into a Dr. Z amp, I might go for, like, my most country lick kind of sound, right? Because I like the Dr. Z's, but I kind of think of Brad Paisley and I think of Dr. Z. You know what I mean? If I'm playing a clean amp, you know, I'm trying to get that smooth, bluesy, clean tone, I might try to pull a John Mayer riff out of my repertoire or whatever. And if I pick up my Ingle, I might play, you know, some Avenged Sevenfold right away or something like that. Something that I like to play, but it's also something in that vein of that type of amplifier. Even though I'm not saying, I don't think Avenged ever played a Ingle, but that's something, a riff I like to play. So yeah, I just line up the riff to the closest thing that I kind of associate that piece of gear to. So, and I associate a lot of players, I associate a lot of really smooth, clean tones to the John Mayer sound from the Continuum album. And as I always tell everybody, if you're not a John Mayer fan, which is fine, please, before you hate John Mayer and his sound and him, always make sure you got a chance to check out the John Mayer Trio or the Continuum album. Nothing else. Don't worry about anything else. Just those two. My guess is, if you haven't heard them, that's what everybody's doing. So I just letting you know. It's not about liking him or not liking him. I'm just telling you what it is everybody's trying to emulate. It's probably those two albums, the John Mayer Trio and the Continuum. That's what everybody's after, that sound. That likes him or likes his playing. Servando says, hello, Phil. If you had to pick between a SLO-30 and a Twin Sister, which would you choose? Thank you. I appreciate your insight. Literally, dude, seriously, you couldn't have picked two totally different amps from each other ever. I appreciate the question. It's impossible to ask, so there's just no way. Here's why. So first, I really want a Soldano. Who doesn't, right? It's a iconic amp by SLO-30. I got to play when I have a video about it, and it's great. And I played it with Mike Soldano there. Fantastic amp. And they're in the same vein. They're both in that high $2,000 range. $2,000, I think 27 for the SLO-30 and 29 for the Twin Sister. The Twin Sister is more my lane in the idea of what I can use it for. I can get the blues, the rock tones out of it. I need the lower gain settings, and then I can juice it with a pedal or just run a heavy gain pedal through the clean side of it. The SLO-30, it was the opposite effect. You can get the high gain sound of it. It has a great clean in that amp, by the way, but then I can run blues or rock pedals through the clean channel in that amp, which is good. But let me put it this way. I'm not saying I'm buying a Twin Sister. What I'm saying is, if I'm buying one of those amps, the Twin Sister is the one I'm going to buy before the SLO-30. And not for any reason, like I said, but they're different. Totally different amps. Totally different. To me, they're not even in the same sound range. They're different. So the reason I say that is that's what I would do. For you, you need to figure out what you're looking for, because the SLO is definitely metal. It's a metal amp, man. You're gone. Twin Sister, that's your blues rock amp, no metal. Highest gain with a tube screamer or some kind of clon or some kind of boost pedal in front of it, you're going to be in some really chunky, cool, crunchy rock, metal, light metal. I don't know, light metal, dark metal tones, but you're not going to get the same tones. Scott says, do you have any experience using a neck press to straighten a neck? I asked before and a listener answered, but I was wondering if you had any experience. To straighten a neck that doesn't have a truss rod, I assume what you're saying, because sometimes you have a truss rod, you can fix that, but very rarely do you need to steam a neck. I steam them like a classical guitar neck. Sometimes they don't have truss rods, and we steam them, and we have a jig. I know they have a neck press. I don't use it. I have a jig that we use, and it works great. It's not something we deal with very often. The irony is this: I don't do so in when you do repairs. You tend to, not so much specialize, but you tend to be known for certain things. I do a lot of repairs in a lot of categories, but the one category you don't see a whole lot is vintage acoustics. I could say I've done a lot of vintage guitars, electric guitars. Vintage acoustics are definitely something I've done very little of. And why that's important to this question is you're going to do a lot of neck straightening on that type of guitar. A lot of guitars, acoustic guitars, because mostly acoustic guitars that need a neck straightening more so than electrics. I mean, I can't even name on one hand how many electric guitars I've seen that needs a neck straightened with anything other than the adjustments of the truss rod. It's mostly acoustics. Most acoustics that I've seen in my type of a repair cycle that are having that problem are not worth fixing. And when I say not worth, I mean the consumer won't do it. They're not going to pay me to fix a guitar that they bought new for $5.99. They're just not going to do it. They're like, what's this guitar worth used? I'm like, I don't know, $350. And they're like, oh, well, I'm not going to pay to fix that. So, but yeah, we have steamed and straightened necks many times, but it's not as common. And that's fine because again, I've learned this, and this is why it's good since we're talking about this when it comes to repair. Sometimes, if you're in a conglomerate of repairs, I guess that's what I want to say. A bunch of repair people. I shouldn't say guys because there's so many repair females now in the market, and more so than I've ever anticipated or thought I knew about. And I know I've done a lot of videos lately with them. It's really, really, like I said, I always say guys, but I feel like horrible now because it's really an equalized market out there. My point to that is that when you have a bunch of repair people in a shop, they can really full service the repair cycle more because there's different things they specialize in. The problem with when you dive too much outside of the things that you're doing a lot of that are really successful, you slow down. See, like I hyper focus on like 10 things, right? Maybe 12 different things that I repair. And that keeps me fast, which keeps customers happy because they turnarounds really quickly. One of the things that makes it really do well is the fast turnarounds. The more you kind of go out of those things that you're doing very well and very quickly, the more you slow back down again. So Servanda's got a follow-up question. He says, also, how would you compare the SLO-30 to the MT-50? I've owned the MT-15. Sorry, that's the Mark Tremani 15. And enjoyed it, but wonder if the difference is reflected in the tone. It's that, you're talking about a $700 amp versus a $2,700 amp, basically, right? Let's put that in perspective. SLO is $2,000 more. Do I think it's better? There's certain things about the SLO-30 that are nice. There's some sustain in it. You can kind of feel the way the amp has a quicker response. You definitely feel, and when I say physically, you feel it and you hear there's better componentry in it. You know what I mean? There's certain things that are happening that are just a little smoother, a little nicer. But do I think it's $2,000 better? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, would I buy it because I like it? Yeah. But would I literally, if I was happy with the MT-15, which I do like the MT-15, if I was happy with that, would I go, I'm just never going to be happy unless I spend this extra $2,000? No. I will tell you this. Something you can consider, though, is the new Archon 50, which is, I have it. I'm looking at it right here. I have the new Archon 50. I have the old Archon 50 because I own the old Archon. PRS sent the new Archon 50 out. I have not released a video. I've been batting this thing around like a like a ball of yarn with like a cat and a ball of yarn on this amp. What I can tell you is very briefly and very, succinctly is that I like the new Archon more than the old Archon as a whole, which meaning if we pros and cons list, the pros outweigh the cons on the new Archon 50. It's the new one's made in Indonesia. The old one was assembled in the USA. Okay, that's cool, but the new one's made in Indonesia in the Cortec factory, but it's also $600 less. Same amp. So we see this all the time, right? They take manufacturing from the US and they take it overseas, right? They go, okay, we made these amps in the US. We saw it with Ampeg. Ampeg made the amps in the US and they took it to Vietnam. But the price stayed the same. We see that all the time. They, Vox, right? Vox did this, but when Vox moved everything to China, they did lower the prices. They averaged down the prices a little bit. When you see that, at least you go, hey, look, they're going to a cheaper manufacturing costs, but they're passing savings to the consumer. I'm not saying that's a great thing. I'm just saying it's a lot better than when they don't. So the new Archon is $600 less than the old one, and it has all the features the old one has that matter, which is it has the same tones. It sounds good. It's got a little bit more low end response. It sounds more like the MT15 than the old Archon did, although they sound damn close in the beginning. So this is just even more so. They added LEDs to it. The old one did not have LEDs. So now you know what channel you're on, which is another cool thing. The things they took away didn't matter. They took away the power switch to take it from 50 to 25, but I never liked it in the 25 watt mode. You cut the switch down, like I've talked about this a million times. You cut the power rating down and it just thinned out the amp. It sounded horrible. So they fixed that. So again, the new Archon is a win in my mind so far. Although, it's $1,000. So like I said, it's less than the old Archon, but the one they sent me has issues, blemish issues and stuff. I mean, there's things that you have to look at. And so, I mean, like I said, I'll do the video and we'll talk about that. Okay, let's button up these last questions so we can start our weekend. Castor says, if I bought $1,000 worth of Behringer pedals today and left them in boxes untouched, how much would they be worth in 20 years? Serious question. Well, you're talking about 5,000 Behringer pedals, so $1,000 got to be all the Behringer pedals in the world, right? No, just kidding. $1,000. I don't think they'd be worth anything. That's what in 20 years. What do I think they'd be worth? Nothing. Don't do it. How about that? Don't do it. In fact, I could think of 10 things right now I'd spend $1,000 on before I'd buy $1,000 worth of Behringer pedals. If you buy a Behringer pedal new for $20 in 20 years, what's it worth? It's unforeseen. Who knows? Here's why. I mean, you could argue it could be worth more because inflation, right? You could argue it's worth less but I wouldn't do it. It's a interesting question, but what I will tell you is, what I've seen is this: all the stuff that is cheaply made, that's made to hit a price point. It doesn't have to be Behringer. Take out Behringer out of this entire question and it fixes the question. 20 years ago, if you bought $1,000 worth of cheap pedals, what are they worth now, new in box? Well, let's see. Think of all the cheap pedals and how many people are be interested in if you said, oh, I don't know, like sound tanks. I've been in sound tank pedals. You're like, oh, I have $1,000 worth of sound tank pedals and they've never been used. You could put that on Reverb and watch it rot. They've gone up a little bit, I guess. I don't know. If you want to do it, it's great. But if you want my opinion, I would say don't do it. Les Paul is more says, longtime listener. He says, I'm a great guy. Thank you. I appreciate that. Says, have a great channel. Quick question, though. Is there a trick to leveling frets on a compound raised fretboard? Not a trick so much. Just everybody, there's different ways to do it. There's a mathematical way to do it. I don't follow that way. I've never, in fact, I watched, I was in a facility once and I was watching them level the compound frets. What I do is I take the flattest radius, whatever the bridge is radius at, and I'll just level off that. But you can, so go online and look. And I've done it both ways, and it gets silly after a while. You can't tell a difference on the compound radius. Look, there's different versions of what people feel about compound radius. Like I watched Texas Toast. Those guys are pretty much, they think the compound radius, I think if I recall, and I don't want to misquote them, I thought they thought it was bupkis like it was nothing good, right? I don't give a crap about compound radius. It's nice, I guess, but like literally, I don't like. I've ordered a ton of custom guitars. I've never asked for a compound radius. That's one of those things, like I never thought about it that way. And then I look back going, yeah, every time I was given an opportunity, like my custom shop Strat that's behind me, I could have had it any way I wanted. Instead, I ordered a 12-inch radius. I didn't go like 9.5 to 12 or 9.5 to 14. I didn't order it that way. Because it's not something I particularly care about. And I find most of my customers over the years can't tell. Not because they're newer, not because they're not seasoned. It's just a lot of players can't tell. Some can, but most can't. So what I've learned for me is I radius to whatever the bridge is. So like for instance, 9.5 to 12 and the bridge is radius to 12. I just radius everything at, our radius the frets at 12, but our level the frets. But here's the thing about that. That's only if you have to use the radius sanding blocks. A lot of times when you're leveling frets, you don't have to do that. So I'm not worrying about that. I'm just following the contour of the frets. Again, it depends on what you're leveling, right? We're talking about fretting a guitar, then you got to use radius blocks, putting new frets in. A lot of times, I don't think I've actually, maybe I have. I don't think I have actually put frets in a radius neck. I think almost everybody has me refret a neck. Usually the guitars are old. Remember, radius fretboards are not that old. So usually when I'm refretting a neck, the neck's pretty old. So in most cases, you can get around with just using your normal fret leveling beam, and you don't have to radius anything. You just follow the contour of the frets. Courier 11 Seconds says, I want to get into winding pickups and I'm in Tucson. Do you know of anyone who might have a used winding machine they might let go for? I don't. I can tell you that you can get them from Mojo Tone. Those are really good ones. There's kit ones you can buy from Stu-Mac. You can get all kinds on, Amazon and stuff like that. You don't need a winder. I started like everybody. My first pickup I winded was a drill. You just use a drill. That's what I did. My first pickup I ever winded was a customer who's broke as a joke, because we all been there, had a guitar and the pickup wasn't working. And it was just one of those things like, I wanted to repair this guitar. They had no damn money to fix it with. And so you're just there with your problem is you have this customer, you want to take care of them. How do I do this? And then the cheapest way I could do it was just take their pickup apart and just rewind it and put it back in. And because that's something I could go, okay, let's just, what's wire cost me? Nothing. Let's do it. And that was the first one I ever did. And that was 20 years ago, maybe 18 years ago. And I did it and I was like, okay, there's. Okay, let's keep going. And so yeah, so you don't need a winder. You could do it with all kinds of things. Hell, I used to do it with sewing machines, for Christ's sake. But the new winders are amazing. If you've done it, I've done it. Now I'm owned at this point, obviously besides the drill, I've owned a cheaper winder, and now I have like the Mojo Tone winder, which is my favorite. I just like it. There's probably nicer ones out there, but that's the one I like. I have two of them, and so I use the two that I have. I like them. Frederick says, hey, Phil, what are your thoughts on Seymour Duncan Little 59 versus Antiquity 55s for the Telly Bridge pickup? I have them, and I don't. Well, wait. I have the Little 59. I don't have the Antiquity 55, so I can't tell you. I'm sorry about that. So I can't speak to that difference. I don't know what the difference is. What I can tell you with the Little 59 and the bridge pickup of a Telecaster, I like it. I like it a good amount. I don't know why, but I like the chopper a little bit more from DiMarzio in that situation. Like there's sometimes where I just like Seymour Duncan pickups over DiMarzio's, and there's sometimes where I like DiMarzio's over Seymour Duncan's. For some reason, the Telly Bridge pickup, if you're going to put a mini humbucker, man, I just really like the chopper by DiMarzio. I think it really, because sometimes Tellys are they're determined to sound like a Telly. A Telly is a weird concept. You can put different pickups in it, but it merely wants to sound like a Telly. Everything you do is going to still have that same tone. And so when you try to put a Little 59, if you're trying to fatten up the sound, sometimes it doesn't go the way you think. And that chopper really will kind of thicken that guitar up, but it still sounds like a Telly, but it just has punch. Tony says, why is he talking about guitars on Friday afternoon? Oh, why is talking about guitars on Friday afternoon so cool? Asking for a friend. It's cool because we didn't get to talk about them all week. That's what it is, right? all week we got to deal with all the other crap. And today's, I think I've made this joke before. It's like the Goonies. Today's our day. It's our time. We're going to talk about guitars. D. Sharon says, for the tone jar, Gravedigger Dale says, is it weird is it weird that I wash my hands every time before I play? It's not weird. In fact, I wash before and after I play guitar, always. I wash my hands always because I don't like the soot and the metal, the dirt that comes from the metal off the strings. It's always black and it's I don't know. I don't like it. So I wash it off really a lot. But I wash my hands before because of that same reason. I don't want to. I try to keep my strings. I don't like changing strings. I think I've said this before. I'll do whatever it takes to not have to change strings. So I want them to last as long as I can. So no, it's not weird at all. I do the same thing. Wu-Tech says, hey, Phil, this is for all your priceless business advice. I come to the show for that as much as I do for guitars. I wish you a great weekend. I wish you a great weekend, and I'm glad you enjoyed that. It's part of the, I like this weekly experience. I hope you guys do too. Freeman's back. He says, hey, Phil, looking for a Gibson 335 type to add to the collection. Any suggestions sub $500? Any thoughts on the Epi 339? So I have not played the Epiphone 339 in recent years since the new, inspired by Gibson series. I haven't tried those. I tried one way back in the day. Did not like it. Not the 339. I didn't like it. The old Epiphones, I liked the 335. I didn't like the 339. I think it's because when I played the 335 Epiphone, I thought it vibed like a 335 Gibson, but the 339 Epiphone did not vibe like the 339 Gibson. So that was my thing. Hang up on that. But new guitars wise, for $500, I don't know. I haven't tried the new Epiphone model yet. I've only played the old ones, but I've always been a fan of the old ones. You can pick up one of those used. I like some of the 335 style Ibanez's. I like those fine. I reviewed a Sire L7. Is that it? L7? Yeah, L7. And I think I told you the owner reached out to me and said they would like to send some more guitars for review. I bought that guitar, as you guys know. I bought that guitar and reviewed it. And he said, hey, I really like the video. And he goes, could we, send you some guitars to review? And I said, sure. And they sent the H7. So I have the H7. I have not started the video on that because I try to get familiar with a new guitar like that. I'm not familiar with it at all. And I don't know the price, so I can't suggest it to you. But so far, so good. Death Metal Dan. That's a great name. Says, Phil, any experience with 20-inch radius guitars? Got myself a PRS Holcomb SE, and it's nice to play. Yeah, I mean, obviously classical guitars are 20-inch radius. Really, really flat. I didn't know the Holcomb was 20-inch radius. Is it? I don't know if you're implying that or if it is. I never looked at the spec. I don't know if I've ever played the Holcomb. I think I've seen it. It's satin finish CE. Never looked to see if it's flat, but that's flat. I like 10-inch radius, which is like PRS. I like the 12-inch radius, which is like Gibson. 9.5 Fender. I like all those. 16 is what's on a lot of Ibanez guitars. I like that. 20 gets really flat for me. So I have experience with them. 20-inch radiuses. I like them. Don't love them, but not anything negative. No, like I wouldn't take a guitar if it had a 20-inch radius. Like now knowing the Holcomb has a 20-inch radius, there's nothing I would be shocked if I picked up that guitar and I went, unplayable. I've never picked up a 20-inch radius and went, this is horrible. I don't like this. I just don't need it. I think I'll double check. I think my Kiesel's 14-inch radius. This one right here. I remember I thought I tried that. And, like I said, it gets a little tricky. See, here's the thing. 7 1/4 and 9.5, massive difference in how they feel. 7 1/4, to 10 or to 12, even more massive. 9.5 to 12, a little bit of a difference. 12 to 16, it's a subtle difference. 16 to 20, it's almost non-existent. It's just a little flatter. So like I said, as things get flatter, that's why I said sometimes in the compound radiuses, it gets a little tricky. Like I used to do the Emperor's New Clothes thing, right? The story, right? He didn't know that there was no clothes. I would do that with Jacksons. Like I remember Jackson came out and they were doing 12 to 16-inch radius fretboards. And I'd be like, it's compound radius. It's amazing. Compound radius. You know you need a compound radius. And then one day, it didn't even occur to me that I was lying to myself. I mean, seriously, I would play it was good. So it's good. So it means it's good because it's compound radius, right? It's compound radius and it's good. Makes sense that that's why it's good. Then one day it occurred to me, like, I don't even know. They could be lying to me. So I tested it. I'm like, oh, I guess they're not lying to me. So like I said, where I first noticed compound radius the first time where I was like, oh, that's different. Fender did a 9.5. Because see, what happened was for a while, there was only Jackson was doing compound radius. And then when Fender acquired Jackson, it took many years after that. But then Fender started implementing compound radius into Fender guitars because, hey, they have Jackson. They have the, they have it all set up to do so. First time I noticed compound radius, notice it, like no one said it was compound radius. And then I was like, I think this is compound radius. That's the thing for me. Every time before that, somebody told me and I thought, okay, I feel it because you told me, or they didn't tell me and I didn't feel it the whole time. Even working on it, unless I was checking things with actual gauges. But think about that for a second. You know what I mean? If you have to measure things or check things with a jig to know what it is, it's not that noticeable if you're doing it all day. So to me, the first time I heard it or felt it was a Fender that had 9.5 to 14. And I think that wasn't the deluxe Strat, because I think the deluxes were 9.5 to 12. I think it was a second generation of that. They went 9.5 to 14. And I was playing one day and I just like, wow, this feels like I could tell this is radius. And that was more extreme. So that's why I say sometimes when we focus on things, there's just things that like I said, we talk about those specifications because it's important information in a world where you don't get to touch stuff and you want information so you can make educated decisions when you purchase online. But a lot of stuff, I try not to focus on it. If I'm playing it and it's fine, I don't worry about specifications. In fact, 90% of the specifications I talk about on my channel is just because I have to communicate to you guys information. But realistically, I don't ever go into a store and go, well, is this 20 inch? Is this 16? Is this, I pick it up and go, yeah, it's not good. Or, wow, that's great. So yeah. Jimmy T568 said Highlander guitar. So that's, I assume that's the name of the store. He said, just ask my maybe media manager. He's talking about the media manager. What info he's, what? I have no idea. He says, Highlander Guitar, which is the name of the store. Said, just ask my media manager what info was. He said, I don't know. He said, real conversation promoted a tech for social media as beer on me. Thank you. I think I know where you're going with this. I'm just going to take the beer and say thank you because it's towards the end of the show. And maybe I'm losing it a little bit because I get a little, you get a little 2 hours into this thing. I get a little lost. I'm not going to lie. All right. Gary Delvin says, do you think Fender will continue with roasted necks in the Squier range? Seems like they might be hurting their own mid-range sales. Well, that's a perfect example. Fender is going to do exactly what it's done very successfully for many, many years, which is not hurt itself. It's going to find products that do well and do well in each category and refine that process. And like I said, we'll see elimination of SKUs. Look, I was talking about a couple weeks ago about how you're going to see a lot of manufacturers probably eliminating SKUs and kind of thinning down those SKU lines. And obviously, if you're paying attention to PRS, they've eliminated a lot of S2 SKUs. So they don't make a lot of S2 guitars. So that's what you're going to see. You're going to see a lot of that stuff. So yeah, I think so. I don't think doing roasted maple Squiers is hurting too much. I still believe what I believed, years ago when I started this podcast and I would talk this way. I really believe people buy in the price point that they're comfortable buying, and it doesn't matter. So like what I mean by that is, look, there's different, and I mean this with all the respect that, because there's different, everybody's allowed to have a different opinion about things. Some people like fancy cars. I know I'm going weird with this, but just walk with me on it. People like fancy cars, and that makes them feel good getting in a fancy car and driving down the road. Some people feel awkward in a fancy car. You know what I mean? You get in a fancy car and like me, actually where I fall in line is not so much I feel awkward. I don't like attention in that area. Like, I don't like, I mean, obviously it seems weird that I have a YouTube channel, but I don't like attention. I try to be as anonymous as I can. So I don't want to be in anything that let people look at me. I want to be able to go somewhere and leave and not know, no one know I was there. So I want to be anonymous, right? So what I mean by that is, same with the guitars, are the same thing. Some people are like, yeah, you know what? I like the Squier and I don't care. And some people are self-conscious about their Squier. They have a Squier and they're like, I know, because people say it to me every day. I deal in a business of talking to people, and they'll go, hey, Phil, I got this Squier. I know it's a Squier. It's not a Fender, but I like it. And I'm like, well, then like it. Don't apologize for it. Like it. I say that not because I think they have self-esteem issues and I'm trying to help them as a person. I'm telling them to remind them that, I get that somebody has a hang up on that, but you know what? Enjoy what you enjoy and love it. So same thing. I've said this before. I used to not play PRSs or even look at them because I thought they were like kind of a little pretentious. Like everybody talks about, certain things about PRSs, but for me it was like, oh, only the rich people have PRSs. And then I told you, I have a video about this. I went to the factory and I realized like all the employees really care. And that was a really cool experience to see that. And then I saw the company differently. I saw a bunch of people who like to make guitars and I thought that was kind of cool. So again, different things. So back to the Squier line, I think it's smart that Squier keeps making the guitars get better. I think ultimately logos do have value. Like we said earlier about Gibson has value. Gibson will always have a value point. Make a great Epiphone, make a great Gibson. People will decide if they want a great guitar and they want to save money, or they want a great guitar and they want something iconic. In other words, something that has value in its perceived name and stuff. Nothing wrong with buying brand names for that. And we see it all the time in the industry. We see they take, Fords and turn them into Lincolns, and they take Chevys and turn them into Cadillacs, and Toyotas into Lexuses. We see that. The guitar industry is probably going to end up the same way at some point. At some point, you're probably going to pick up a Squier and not be able to tell the difference between that and a high-end Fender American Strat. They're going to feel almost identical. Because why? They're almost identical now. And you'll decide. Do you want to spend $300 or $500 now for a damn Squier because it's getting up there? You want to spend $400 or $500 and get a Squier because you want this quality at this price point? Or does it matter that it says whatever it says, in Corona, California or whatever, or that it says Fender on it? Does that matter? Or, it's a little better and you're fine with a little better. Like I said, it's interesting. So like I said, I think that's where it's all going to go. But I definitely think Fender will definitely, like you said, your question is, will they adjust? I think so. If they see that they are cannibalizing sales, I as a Fender dealer for many years, seen Fender absolutely execute on that decision. In other words, if one product line is cannibalizing another product line, that product line goes away. That's an absolute thing that not only they do, but tons of companies. This is why I'm talking about PRS. I've been saying for the last few years, as this boom economy seems to be affecting the guitars, and when I say boom economy, I mean record sales and guitar sales. So again, wherever you are in the world, different economies, different worlds, but the reality is boom sales for 2020, boom sales in guitars. As boom sales hit, you're going to see companies like PRS go, okay, do we really need an affordable made in USA guitar to compete with our expensive USA guitars in this market? And you're going to watch them slide that down and go, no. And they're going to do exactly what everybody's going to do. Go, hey, if you want to save some money, get an SE. And if you don't care about your money, you can spend whatever you want. You get the core. So I think that's going to happen. Because again, those S2s cannibalize cores. I believe that because in my personal collection of PRS guitars, it goes like this. My favorite one is the one Nathan made me. Why? Because Nathan made it. Has an emotional connection. Okay, take that out of the equation. My next favorite is this old core guitar that I bought in 2013 that it's the cheapest model they make. I love that guitar. I'm just bonded to it. My second favorite PRS in my collection is my S2 semi-hollow. Again, another affordable PRS. My high-end core model PRSs I have are not my favorites. Now, that's personal. That's my personal interest. And it's just not, I'm not saying that series is better than the other series. I'm talking about the physical guitars I own. Those are the guitars. And in keeping PRS guitars, those three I just mentioned would be the ones I'd keep. The rest would all go if I had to get rid of them. But this is why this is important. That is not the decision you want your consumer to come to. You do not want your consumer to go, oh man, I really love my $1,200 S2 way more than my $3,000 core. That is not good for your business model. So that's where they're going to get rid of it, I think. All right. On that note, we're going to call it. And I got a super chat that I have a drink of water on me. I will. I will do that. And then the last one is Soul Fountain, who said, how well would you do with a prank that involved a damaged guitar? I am not prank culture. Sure, have I done stuff to people and had stuff done to me, like practical jokes? Yes, practical jokes, sure, of course. I like light ones. But as far as prank culture goes, I like jokes where everyone is in on the joke. I don't like it when it sounds like I'm trying to be like, all like, I'm into everyone's going to be friends and everybody should be happy. It's not that. It's prank culture to me is dangerous culture because it goes sometimes it goes wrong. So anyways, so to the core of your question, how would I feel? Wait, what was the question? How would you do with a prank that involved damaged guitar? Like if somebody told me, well, first of all, I can tell you right now, and Nathan, my friends that have been on the show can attest to this. They've seen me when a guitar gets damaged. I don't react the way anybody thinks. I just go, oh yeah, that happened. That stuff hits me later. I don't go, oh man, it's later. I'm just like, I go quiet for like a day. While I process. So yeah, I wouldn't like react. Like if somebody fake dropped one of these guitars off the wall and hit the floor and smashed, I'd be like, yeah, that happened. That sucks. And then later is when I would react to it. So it wouldn't even work on me. So Brian says pranks get paid back. It's called karma. Yeah. Look, I appreciate the people that like that humor. And I don't have a problem. I don't have a moral issue with it. Like I said, I don't want to be all preachy on people like, oh, you shouldn't do it. Nah, do it. And if somebody did it to me, I'm just saying it would be like, it wouldn't be the excitement. I've seen that, shows where they prank people and the people have this like hysterical reaction and people are all laughing. The problem is that's not how I react. I react always very extreme. That's just my personality. What I mean by that is either I'm going to get really pissed usually people have some kind of emotional response to that because, they're like, hey, Phil, I'm generally in a good mood and I'm easygoing. So when I get pissed, not only is it a little shocking for people, it's shocking how pissed I get. Because, like anybody, I'm like a volcano when it happens. Like when I'll say, I want to leave on this note. So when, like I said, my extreme reactions would either be, I wouldn't react at all, which is really extreme. Like I don't seem to care. Or I extreme the other way where I go crazy, and I'm just angry as hell. And I'm, like I said, it shocks people. But here's why. Somebody said this once. One of my friends said this once. They said it's, I'm like a volcano. When Phil gets mad, it's like, you can tell it's been boiling up. When I get mad at somebody, it's literally like, I'm not just mad at them. I'm mad at the last 50 people I didn't actually show that I was mad with. Something like that. All right. But anyways, like I said, as long as everything's in good fun, I think you should do it. And then Samos says, no punking with guitars. Yeah. I don't know. All right. On that note, and on a last note on pranking, what I would tell you is I don't watch any of that stuff. So it doesn't appeal to me. But like I said, I do have friends that love it. And good for them. On that note, we're going to let you go. If I did miss a super chat, I will make sure to scoop them next week. I apologize, but sometimes, like I said, we've been on for a long time today. I want to thank everybody for joining me. Like I said, this Wednesday, as I click around screens, I'm sorry. This Wednesday, we'll be doing a bonus podcast earlier in the day. It'll be 1 p.m. our time, my time. So instead of 3 p.m. normal, and it's on Wednesday, so earlier, I'll give you guys notification of that, and look forward to that. And hopefully we'll see some new faces and some familiar faces. When I say faces, I mean avatars and names. And until next Wednesday, guys, have a great weekend and enjoy and play some guitar.